We are approaching that time of year again. A time of great exhilaration. A time of great pleasure. A time of great fear. The darker sides of all crave that latter delight from themselves, but even more so from others. To satiate that hunger, our dark selves take note, interest, and entertainment in tales of the macabre that appeal to our deepest fears as only mortals face. The only way to achieve this is to begin the dark ritual where Nerdporial and a special guest will discuss a particular tale during this season to ward off pure evil, as well as to entertain and to educate. I humbly welcome you to the Serial Horror Chat. And I am, excuse me, I am live right now. What's going on? So, as you can see, I am wearing my vacation shirt because something traumatic happened to me not too long ago. I was in an adult bookstore, and some person touched me. But the thing that really got me upset and triggered was the fact that they said, "I'm sorry, sir." And then I, went to my therapist, and they recommend I go on vacation to this place called the Colony. So that's where I'm gonna be going right after the stream. So everybody, welcome. How's everybody doing? It's good to see Dempsey. You are here. We have two other people. We have two people watching right now. And without further ado, I want to introduce my special guest for the first time on this channel, the one and only Fanzcene. What is up?
What's up, everybody? How's it going? I like your little story there in that opening there. Yeah, I think you might need to go to that retreat with all those people up there.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I heard was that people, disappear. There've been grisly, sightings,
Weird place.
Bigfoot, things, werewolves. It's all conspiracy theories, misinformation. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Fancy, I really appreciate you. This is your first time on my channel, so I appreciate you coming on.
Here.
And once again, like I said backstage, I love all of you. I love your physical media show that you do every Wednesday.
Thank you.
And your 80s retro stuff is like, I'll be honest, is just like amazing. I mean, I don't want. I'm not just trying to kiss your ass or anything, but like I found you on Instagram, and I found your channel, and you're connected to obviously Tom from Midnight's Edge, and of course you're also connected to Runner, who I recently met at the Fan Expo in Chicago. So
do you cuss on here? You allowed cussing? Yeah, fuck your Best Buy Runner. But yeah,
yeah. I actually went to that Best Buy.
I know that's what he told us. Go ahead.
It's better than the Best Buy. It's better than the Best Buy by me. So
my Best Buy sucks. Yeah, that's why that's how that came about on our show, because he's like, oh, I found this at our Best Buy, and we're like, fuck your Best Buy. We can't get shit at ours.
Yeah, like seriously, like I know exactly how you guys feel. So, but I have to ask, like, I just have to ask, like, you've been like, how long have you been into like 80s, 80s horror, 80s retro stuff? Like
since forever. I mean, I never really let it go. I mean, I can't say that I was a teenager in the 80s. I was like late 80s into the 90s. I'm a half 80s, 90s kid like that. But I never really outgrew the 80s stuff. It's just like I watched that since I was a kid and to this day. So it's a part of me, and it's something I don't think I'll ever let go. It's my preferred form of entertainment, specifically the 80s all around. Early 90s, mid 90s, 70s, 60s, 50s, stuff like that. That's usually where I'm at.
Yeah,
all the time.
Same here. I mean, I was born in the 80s. I was born in the 80s, so I mean, VHS was a big part of my life for my entire childhood. It wasn't really until I was an adult that I used DVDs and everything. So
right.
So I actually saw The Howling. I've seen a whole bunch of movies, horror movies, originally in VHS. Like my dad had a copy, a 1978, 1979 copy of the original Halloween. You know how freaking dark that version of the movie is? It's super dark, and the thing is, it's 4:3, so you can't see the whole frame. So when like all of a sudden, like, why am I hearing music? And then then Myers attacks and stuff.
Right.
And like until I saw it on DVD, it was a totally different experience because now you could see like Myers creeping up from the side of the frame and then doing his attack. So, but yeah, I got into horror, and so I got into horror when I was like thinking 12, 13 years old, late 90s for me.
Right.
And
about same here.
It started with finding old Halloween and the original and old Carrie VHSs that my dad had stowed away in the basement in like these big Tupperware containers. So that started, and then I used to read the TV guide all the time. My folks always got the Sunday, Chicago Tribune, Chicago Sun-Times, and then I would read what the movies were on in cable, and that's how I learned what all these movies are and what years they came out. You asked me what year a movie came out, I could probably tell you. That's how nuts I am about.
That's awesome.
That. So
I'm not so good all the time with what year they came out, but I know where they're at.
But like 1981, for instance, was the big year for slasher movies. You had freaking Halloween 2, you had Friday the 13th Part 2, you had The Howling, you had American Werewolf in London, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other movies came out. I can't even think off the top of my head.
Yeah,
but I used to rent a whole bunch of them, and Howling was one of those movies I rented on VHS. And I was like, what the hell am I watching? And I'll be honest, I
love the Howling.
Besides reading it in the cable TV part of the TV guides that came with either Sun-Times or Tribune, one time my folks used to like watch Dateline NBC, and they used to say, "Oh, what?" They would try to guess. They would try to play with the audience, say, "What year did all these things happen?" One of them showed Friday 13th Part 2. And the other one showed The Howling, and so I saw clips of both of those movies, and that's what kind of got me interested in seeing these movies ultimately. Nice. So I used to sneak in the living room. My folks never wanted me to watch them, so I used to sneak in the living room, close the sliding door as quickly as silently as I could, and I put them on. So,
yeah. That's cool. Yeah, my parents, my dad never really cared if we watched horror movies. He didn't care. My mom hated them. As long as she didn't have to see them, she didn't care. So she was good. Yeah, and my older brother used to watch them constantly. And I was a scaredy cat when I was a kid. I wouldn't watch them, and it wasn't until I was a little older that I actually got into it. But I can remember watching like The Howling, American Werewolf in London, and all kinds of movies, all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, all the Friday the 13th, Halloweens, the Puppet Masters.
I've not seen those.
The Puppet Masters are great. So cheesy, so bad, so fun. I love Charles Band and the Full Moon Entertainment. That's just that's my speed right there. So yeah, they're good movies. Well, they're good to me. I can't say they're good for everybody because we all have different tastes, and the Puppet Master movies are they're an acquired taste for certain people. So, but they're good movies to me.
I forget what's the name of this movie that Pips is mentioning right here. The one where all the cars. I think it's a Stephen King one or
Christine.
Wasn't there another one where the trucks come alive too?
Oh yeah.
Overdrive. Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive. I have that. Yeah, Maximum Overdrive with Emilio Estevez and yeah.
Okay, Maximum.
It was written and directed. It was Stephen King's directorial debut. He was so coked out in that movie. He was. He's talked about it. He had no idea what actually happened because he was so coked out, and everything that happens in the movie was just like a coke-fueled rage. I love the movie. A lot of people hated it, but I love the movie because it's just bonkers crazy.
Yeah, that's another one that's on my list. There is a lot when it comes to horror stuff. I'm still a normie, so the whole point of the Serial Horror Chat is not only just to be aware of just to make do for the season and be in the spirit of things, but it's also like it's also something for me too. So just to find and to discover and to find people that know stuff. So that's why I figured Fanzcene, you were one of the perfect people to do a Serial Horror Chat with.
Not to promote myself and whatnot here, but if you go to my channel after this, watch this first. If you go to my channel, I have a link. If you guys have ever seen In Search of Darkness, it's these documentaries on 80s horror. They're on their third one. They're selling the third one right now. This is the final 80s horror documentary. I have a link on my channel. Use my link. If you buy it, it helps my channel. Okay, so if you've ever wanted to know anything about 80s horror or movies, just like make a list of 80s horror movies you want to see, but you go to them. Buy part 3. Part 1 and 2 is on Shudder for free. Or if you use my link, you can buy part 1, 2, and 3 all together. So I'm just saying, if you want to get into it.
I did see part 1. Part 1 is very good.
Yeah, part 1 is very good. Part 2 is just as good. And
I'd love to get excuse me. I'd love to get involved in something equivalent in the future, because I think they have future projects. I know they did one for science fiction, In Search of Tomorrow. I believe is what that one's. I don't know if they're doing a part 2 for that.
Well, I have an interview with the director, David Weiner, up on my channel. You guys got to talk about. We talk about. I've got to know some of these people. Yes, they are possibly working on an In Search of Tomorrow part 2. They're working on a fantasy, like 80s, 90s, like legend and stuff, fantasy documentary that's in their very early stages. They haven't quite figured that one out. And they're going to be an In Search of Darkness 90s edition. Oh. So after this 80s one, this is the final 80s one. It's a trilogy. Then they're moving on to possibly they are moving on to the 90s, and then they got other stuff in the pipeline too. So
do you think there's enough content to do a 70s one?
Yes, I know they actually have talked about that as well. So
okay. Yeah. I want to also say hello to Crimson Ghost, the Fiend. This is, I think, the first time I've ever seen you in the chat on my channel. Welcome. He says, out of all the Howling sequels, which one do you think is the worst? I've only seen the first one. I've not even seen the 7 or 8 or 9 sequels.
Well, it depends on what you mean worse. Go ahead. I'll finish your thought. I don't mean to cut you off.
Every horror movie, almost every horror movie in the 80s, or that started in the 70s that went on in the 80s, had 7 or 8 or 9 sequels. Like they would start, theaters, and they get so bad that they keep making them for just straight to video. I think Hellraisers were like that. The Phantasms were like that. Mm-hmm. The Howlings were like that.
Yeah. As far as the part 2 is considered one of the worst, but it's really not. A lot of people have grown on it. It's one of those movies where it's like when it came out, people hated it, but then they kind of like it. It's called Your Sister's a Werewolf. The best part about it is Sybil Danning, who plays the werewolf woman in that movie, pops her tits out 20, 30 times in the movie. That's the best part of the movie. It's a really bad sequel. Christopher Lee's in it and everything, and it totally negates what happens in the first movie.
Your sister, Your Sister's a Werewolf.
Your Sister's a Werewolf. It's called Howling 2, Your Sister's a Werewolf, also known as Superior, the Werewolf Bitch. That's
Is this supposed to be like a dark comedy?
Yeah. Well, The Howling is actually supposed to be a horror comedy in itself as well. So
yeah, that's Joe Dante. I mean,
yeah.
What do you expect from Joe Dante besides Dick Miller? Dick Miller being in all of his movies. And I'll be honest, Dick Miller's
one of his staples.
Dick Miller is the true star of this movie. It's not.
I love his.
It's not Patrick McNee. It's freaking Dick Miller. I don't think. Here's one thing. I was rewatching the beginning of Gremlins 2 yesterday just because I was in this whole Joe Dante phase, and Dick Miller didn't get he should have gotten top billing. Screw Zach Galligan, screw Phoebe Cates. Well, actually, those two probably should get the top billing, but it should have been Dick Miller. These other freaking John Glover, freaking Daniel Clamp, Donald Trump, because he wrote a similar book. I was like, okay, so but Joe Dante loves his cartoons. He wanted to be a cartoonist, so you see cartoons throughout, Gremlins, Gremlins 2, and of course here in The Howling. You have the creepy. I forget which cartoon was the one where they had the lamb on the counter and the wolf's like.
Oh yeah, it's a Looney Tunes cartoon one. I'm not sure which one it is, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. But yeah, as far as the horrible sequels, 3 and 4 gets really really bad. They're really bad. I can't remember which one. There's one where it's. I can't even think about it. It's something to do with a werewolf, and she's a woman, and she's transforming, and she's giving birth. It's horrible. I can't remember if it's part 3 or 4. And then there's even I think there's is it 6 or 7 that a lot of people don't know about. And it was never really finished. So it's hard to find. You can't find a full copy of it, but it's out there. But yeah, the sequels to The Howling sadly get really, really bad. The first one is all around the best. And yes, it is Fanzcene vids. That's my channel. And you guys call me Greg. My name's Greg, so you can call me that.
That's my middle name. Nice.
There you go.
All right, I kind of dox myself. Usually everyone knows my first name, Brian.
There you
go. But yeah, by the way, I couldn't help because big Star Trek fan. I saw your Captain Kirk in the background. I'm sure that was from a mock time.
Yeah, that's my little screensaver on my TV, so I have something in the background playing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I love Star Trek.
Yeah, so. TOS. TOS is my my.
That's the original series. That's my favorite.
I'm actually probably gonna check out Picard season 3.
All
because of Robert Meyer Burnett.
Yeah, Robert told us that it was going to be really, really good. So we'll see.
Yeah. So ready to talk werewolves.
Yes.
So
let's get to it.
What do you know about? So like my understanding, I've only seen a few werewolf movies. I saw this
Don't
one.
know. I
saw American Werewolf in London. I've seen the 2010 Wolfman. I think that was Wolfman, the one with
with Benicio del Toro.
Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins. And I think the other one, American Werewolf in Paris. I actually saw American Werewolf in Paris. And it wasn't that bad. I didn't think it was that bad.
As compared to the first movie, it's bad because the original you can't top American Werewolf in London. London. But American Werewolf in Paris is a fun movie, regardless.
I thought it was more of an action movie, to be honest, than a horror
movie.
They
didn't quite grasp. Once again, American Werewolf in London is actually supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah.
Once again, so.
If I remember, I think the Werewolf. I remember American Werewolf in Paris came out in the 90s, and I think the guy from That Thing You Do was like the star. What's his name? Tom Everett Scott or something.
Yeah, Tom Everett Scott. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just like, I'm watching it. I'm just like, huh. Yeah, I was just like, I didn't see. I mean, yeah, it wasn't really a comedy. So I think the only comedic elements of London was really when his buddy appears. His buddy appears. He's dead, and he keeps talking. He talks to him, and just I forget. It's been a while since I've seen.
Yeah, it's a dark comedy is what John Landis was going for. And with the Howling is much more a little bit serious and darker movie than that, but it's also in its essence is a dark comedy as well. So both these movies are sort of dark horror comedies. Yeah, and I mean, and that's par for the course with John Landis and Joe Dante. So.
Yeah, and John Landis. This was before was before John Landis and that big accident. I mean, I recently saw the Twilight Zone movie, and I recently learned about what happened in 1982. It's crazy, but that's a story for another. Screen, so.
But I'm a huge werewolf fan, so go wherever you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, just like how many have you seen? I've never seen the original Wolfman.
The original Wolfman is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Is that so, now Wolfman's supposed to be a werewolf, right?
Yes.
Okay. Was that what was in this movie? Like them show the black and white movie that they showed, especially at the very, very end.
Yes, that is the Wolfman they watch in The Howling.
Okay, that's another thing I gotta add to my list. I haven't seen all the Gothic. I've only seen like the Mummy, the original Bela Lugosi Dracula, and the original Frankenstein. I've not seen any of the sequels or any of the other movies, especially the 50s ones. I haven't
seen them all. I have the whole Blu-ray box set of all 32 movies of the Universal Monsters. So I love the Universal Monsters.
I'll be honest, like I haven't even seen all the Hammer horrors. I did Dracula 58 for a stream. That was my first time watching it.
Yeah, so. I haven't seen all the Hammer horrors myself. I was more of a Universal Monster guy, but I like the Hammer horrors. The Draculas were always the best with Christopher Lee. I mean, you just couldn't beat Christopher Lee. He was great. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said in my stream, I learned that Christopher Lee did not watch or depend on other performances for Dracula. Nope. Like he read the Bram Stoker book, and then based his performance off of that and decided be creative about it. So he was a reader.
And speaking of which, Christopher Lee apologized to Joe Dante for The Howling Part 2.
Oh really?
Yeah, because he's in The Howling Part 2. Christopher Lee is, and that's how bad it was received because it was a really Christopher Lee apologized to Joe Dante for the sequel.
Because I think they asked if I did read a little bit about the history. Apparently, they asked Joe Dante to come back, but I think at that point he was already locked into Gremlins with Spielberg.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I mean, Gremlins is awesome. So,
Yeah, Gremlins is
great.
Freaking fantastic movie. It's one of my favorites too.
That's what like the one when I think Joe Dante, first thing you think is Gremlins 1 or Gremlins and Gremlins 2. So, but like only thing I know about werewolves is that I believe they came from Europe. I think from Germany or Switzerland, one of those two countries. And apparently, people actually like there was like a disease or people actually like
it's lycanthropy.
and people committed crimes, and so like they developed a folklore around these grisly crimes that people would do, especially to children, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, if I can go ahead, I don't want to stop you.
No, you can
Say,
interrupt me.
If I remember correctly, because I've looked into the lore of how werewolves came to be, because it's called lycanthropy, and I believe it's because the guy that the first werewolf is his name Lycan. His name is I can't remember. It's been a while since I've read this, but supposedly, how's this go? He was a rich royal person. I can't remember what the part. I know I'm telling this bad because I can't remember this thing, but like he invited in this person to come into their house. It was like a poor, disheveled person or whatever, and they fed them the body of like their child or something. And so the like this goddess deity, which was in disguise, cursed him to be the werewolf for what they'd done. And so like that's how the whatever, you know what I'm saying by the words lycanthropy comes to be is named from him. And I wish I could remember the full story. I used to know it pretty well, but it's been a while since I've read that story. But that's where the whole werewolf myth comes from.
Okay. So I didn't, it's funny, I never heard of the term lycan until I saw the movie Underworld.
Yes, so that's where most people hear the lycan for the first time, but it's in the first Wolfman movie, the original 1940s. It is called lycanthropy. It actually opens up with a paragraph from a book talking about lycanthropy in the very first Wolfman movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but then of course they develop a folklore around this and a mythology, and well, apparently werewolves are basically human beings that have been stricken by some sort of disease, a bite or something from an animal or who knows what, and they can shapeshift. All of a sudden they can shapeshift at will. I mean, in this movie, The Howling, they can shapeshift whenever they want. In other movies and other stories, it was only the full moon. Excuse me, sorry, the full moon that caused them to shapeshift. And then their weakness was silver bullets. That's pretty much all. That's pretty much all that I know. And I think they some can revert back to humans. I think some cannot until it's daytime, or I don't know. Like it seems like there's a lot of similarities between werewolves and vampires, except vampires they don't shapeshift and everything.
Yeah.
So
I figured. Go ahead.
I figured they're like the same, like at the same strength level. Hence why they have these wars and freaking underworld and whatnot.
Yeah, like the vampires versus werewolves and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I figured out the story. I remember the story. It's a Greek story. Zeus. It's King Lycaon of Arcadia was transformed into a wolf because he had sacrificed a child in the altar of Zeus. And Zeus did not like it, and Zeus visited him disguised as a common man, and Lycaon wants to test if he really is a god. To that end, he kills Melissa hostage and serves his entrails to Zeus, and disgusted, the god turns Lycaon into a wolf, and that's how sort of it comes to be. That's where I think the earliest form of the story comes from.
From Greek? Oh, wow.
From Greek, and Greek and German stuff is like where I could pinpoint. It's like those two regions where the earliest werewolf legends come from.
It's interesting how these stories kind of spread and spread over time and everything, and where they end up. It's pretty interesting. Something for a future read, especially because I have a lot more werewolf movies I have to check out.
Oh,
heck, I didn't even see the Jack Nicholson movie, to be honest.
Oh yeah, Wolf's good. It's a bit different because the thing with that one is Nicholson didn't want to do the whole makeup stuff. Yeah. So they don't quite get wolf-like in that. but it's really not a bad movie. So yeah, it's not a bad movie, and I love the werewolves. We just need more better werewolf movies right now because it's always vampires and zombies. The Wolfman is always left out in the cold. So
Yeah.
I love werewolf movies.
Okay, so you wanna get? I'm gonna share my screen. Let's get started with the
Right,
breakdown
go
of
ahead.
the Howling. So, all right. So we get
She's
this
hot.
nice little title card right here. We hear like the cutting of a fabric, and all of a sudden we go ooh. We hear the
Yeah.
ooh, and
Oh.
we get this nice little interesting little segment right here. Like we get looks like okay, my media player classic's taking forever. We get this nice little a background effect of VHS production room, news production room quality. Everything we're hearing like sounds from people saying, "Oh, do this," and "Oh, do that," and then we hear like police. I think we hear police radio because I'll just say we are in the midst of a sting operation. Is that what it's best to call this?
Yeah, yeah, she's going like sort of under the sting because Eddie Quist wants her to see something. So she's sort of going undercover. Well, not undercover because he knows she's coming, but like they've got her wired up with the police. And I can't remember. Is the police there? I know it's her news stations with her, but I don't remember if the police.
Yeah, the police. Yeah, so the police are the ones. They're the ones that put the bug on her.
Yeah.
And so like they're following her, and of course they lose contact. But here's Eddie Quist right here. Or I think he's also known as Eddie the Mangler.
Yeah.
So he's a serial killer that has killed people, I think, very grisly ways. And he pretty much, and believe it or not, that's Robert. I didn't realize it at first, but that's freaking Robert Picardo.
Yep, Robert Picardo.
And he was another Joe Dante actor. He's another Joe Dante actor, and his acting in this. I was surprised how different he is in this movie. I mean, he's obviously much younger. I'm sure he's still wearing a piece though, because I'm sure he was bald since he was really young.
Yeah.
But here he's like, he doesn't sound like his usual uptight, prissy type of character he usually plays. Like he plays a prissy, uptight character in Gremlins 2. He's Clamp's assistant or something. He's like one of Clamp's assistants. And in Voyager, Star Trek Voyager, he plays the prissy EMH.
Yeah. Speaking of like Dante people, this movie is actually, and Gremlins, this movie is actually in the Gremlins universe. You do know that, right? Gremlins and this are in the same universe. The guy that works that works at the news station, which we'll get to. I know we'll get to. We're going to get to that here. But you know how he's in the bathroom and then he's got the voice and he's in the blue suit jacket.
You're talking about Kevin McCarthy. I
think so. I can't remember his name, but he's like got the blue suit jacket.
Mr. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and he comes back.
Not that guy. No, not the Invasion of Body Snatchers
in the 78 movie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, 70. Yeah, he's great. But no, it's one of the news people on the TV with her.
Oh, the guy that practices in front of
with the voice. Yeah. Oh, he's in Gremlins, wearing the same outfit. He's on the news. He's the same guy. It's the same name. He's the same guy. He's in Gremlins. That's how they're connected.
That's awesome. I'm going to have to check that out. That's going to be a Christmas special. I'll do
there
Gremlins because to me, Gremlins is a Christmas movie.
Yes, it is 100%.
So, but yeah, here we have. So this is Eddie the Mangler, Eddie Quist, as he's known, and he's listening to this guy right here. And I got this. Here's the thing, though. There were times where I've done these streams. I've accidentally clicked on a frame of something very inappropriate, like I did a couple of days ago. Like there was full body everything. So
you're gonna watch in this one because that chick is smoking hot. She drops it all. So
you're Marsha. Yeah, I have to. I'm gonna have to. I had to edit like. I still haven't even completed my editing for my last one. So
so you're gonna have to be careful because she goes full frontal in this movie.
Yes, she does. That's a great scene though. It's a very great scene.
It is, but
it ends weirdly. It ends with you see part of the transformation, but then it ends with like an animated. So it ends with them animating into wolves or werewolves. Yeah, like and it's like just a silhouette in animation. So, but we'll get to that. But here we meet Dr. George Wagner. He's like a famous celebrity psychiatrist, I believe, or whatever. And believe it or not, he's played by Patrick McNee. And if you don't know who Patrick McNee is, he is an original. He's one of the original Avengers. Nope, not the Avengers that everybody knows.
I know you're talking about
the British UK 1961 spy thriller series Avengers. It was him and what was her name? Pussy Galore and
I know her name.
The woman from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I know her name, but
Lady
I can't remember.
Olenna's character.
She had the
Diana
legs
Rigg.
and the nice behind.
Yes,
long legs.
But he was always the dude, and of course they remade the movie in the '90s where Sean Connery was the villain, and I think Ralph Fiennes was his character.
Yeah, it was his character, and Uma Thurman.
Was the female sidekick.
I wish I could remember because I know her name, but I can't think of it.
What's funny is I've never watched any of it, but I knew about it because I read about it, and I remember the commercial for the '90s remake or the movie adaptation or whatever. So I knew about this, but this is like the only movie I've ever actually seen him act in. So we have George Wagner here, and he's talking about the nature of man and how mankind's managed to with civilization we've managed to separate ourselves from the beast and whatnot. And we're primitive versus the sophisticated, the impulses, the noble savagery and everything. So basically gobbledygook to me. So then
he's just setting up the where they need to go.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we see. I think he's filming at the same station as where they work, where this all takes place, KDHD. And so here we meet Karen right here. So Karen's right here, and she's on her way to meet with serial killer Eddie Quest. So this random asshole just stops her and asks her for favors, and he puts his foot in front of her, and she thinks he's Eddie. He's like, "No, I'm John." He's like, "Well, get the hell out of my way, dude." She's like, "Get the hell out of my way, buzz off."
Yeah.
and he just laughs. Of course, this is Chris. He's one of the other people at the news on the production side, and this is her husband, Bill, who talks. Bill just has that. He just talks like a tough guy. He's this movie's Tom Atkins. He's this movie's Tom Atkins.
He ain't got none of Tom Atkins. Atkins is a man.
Yes, Tom Atkins. Like once you see Tom Atkins in the movie, even if it's only for a few minutes, he's the star of that movie.
Yeah, Tom Atkins, man, that dude
Halloween
is a badass.
Halloween 3?
Yeah, definitely.
The reason why Michael Myers was not in that movie.
Yeah,
Michael Myers was not in Halloween 3 because he knew Tom Atkins.
Tom Atkins would have took him out in 2 seconds. That's why he's not in that movie. But yeah, I think like a former football player or something in this movie, her husband. I think
he's a football. Yeah. Like you see a picture, you see a frame of him, like playing football or something. Yeah. It's funny. He's like. What's funny is they're making fun of like health foods and all that. He's like throughout the movie, he says, "I don't eat meat. I'm a vegetarian." Yeah. And so he I think he runs his own like gym, and I think he runs his own health food. He's into the health food in the gyms, which was the big craze of the 80s. And that was part of what this movie was making fun of. That's Joe Dante for you.
Yeah, that's his humor.
And they make fun of health food in Gremlins too as well.
Yeah,
with the yogurt
very Joe Dante.
So we meet. We see that she's on edge. Let me see. Well,
that guy right there, dude, on that him. He's in Gremlins. He's in Gremlins. The same guy, same actor, same character in Gremlins.
Oh man. I just love how he tries. He's changing like his inflections every moment.
He's doing his news voice, and then he turns around. He's got the hillbilly accent or whatever.
Ask about his love of 80s movies and horror.
Yeah.
Ask about his introduction. Okay, I'm not going to try. Yeah. So, but yeah, I thought this was a great scene here. And of course, this is I believe this is the detective, and this is the technician that's running the
monitor.
This is Terry. I forget who this guy is. I'm guessing he's another detective. Yeah, so they're the ones keeping track of Dee Wallace. So she's now Dee Wallace is a famous news broadcaster. She is anchorwoman, and so that's why that this creepy Eddie Quist guy contacted her, and the police want to use her along with the news wants to use her too for ratings, but the police want to use her to catch this guy because they don't know who he is. But
And you only talk to her,
and he'll only talk to her. So
yeah.
So we get that. So let me see what I wrote. So yeah, police are tracking her. Let me see. So yeah, so she's walking into this adult bookstore. So she was on call with Eddie in the phone booth. I think I kind of skipped that. Yeah. So I believe, yeah. So she's in the phone booth. He calls her. She's like, "Are you wearing exactly what I wanted you to wear?" She's like, yeah. And then she's like, "Okay, you know where this bookstore is?" And then the moment he's about to reveal the location of the bookstore, the tech guy loses connection, like right there. And they're like, "It's because of the neon light." I'm like, "What?" Like, I didn't know neon light can cause radio
the
interference with the
radio wavelengths.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Oh well. I don't know. Maybe
it was the
in
80s,
the original
man.
book. It was the 80s. You know, he had these things everywhere. So, and look. Oh, got a nice little doll right here. But yeah, here's a nice little seedy adult bookstore that she goes into, and she's walking. She's a nervous wreck. She's scared. She's scaring the customers, and so we find out that she's instructed to go into a
Peep show booth. Yeah.
And look who's right behind her. Eddie is right behind her, and we see.
I saw something.
What?
Don't go back. You don't want to. Is nudity.
Oh yeah. So yeah.
Because she's in the booth. They show some stuff on the screen that she watches.
Yes. So this is where I got to be careful. So, in the original novel, I didn't read the novel. I just read a synopsis to prepare for the stream. So in the original novel, Karen, who has a different name, I think her name's still Karen, but she has a different last name.
Yeah, they changed a lot from the novel.
Her character gets raped. Her character gets raped in her home by some. I don't know if it was by the same dude. I don't know if it was the same Eddie guy, but she gets raped in her home, and I think that him showing her this was Dante's way of kind of showcasing what the book, what was going to happen, what happened in the book. So she's, instead of her being raped herself, she's watching her rape.
She's like mentally violated.
Yes.
Emotionally. So
yeah. And we learn that Eddie's like, "I want to light you up, Karen." He's talking very, creepily, and then his voice gets deeper and more menacing, like that. And you're like, okay, are we going to see something? Because all we see is the dark right here. So, and I like the lighting. So, okay, that's a little too far, but I want to see. There's like a great shot of like this. I like this right here.
There. Yeah, it's great lighting.
Great lighting. You don't see his face, and it's just you see the light kind of flashing on the tops. Very 80s look. And yeah, we get the so while she's doing this, while she's in the scariest moment of her life, the police come. The police come. A young dude, a young cop, and an old cop come in. They hear her scream. So all of a sudden, Eddie starts to transform. He starts to change. We don't know how he changes, but he starts to change. And she screams. So what does the young cop do? Pulls out a gun and like Captain Kirk orders in that funny Dr. Demento song, "Shoot to kill, shoot to kill, shoot to kill." And they shoot the booth. She's on the ground, so she doesn't get hit. But she gets Eddie the Mangler gets shot and he's dead.
It's dead. Like Glisner says in your chat, "I want to give you a piece of my mind." That's what Eddie wants to do.
Yeah. I forget if he says that. Does he say that now or does he say that later?
I'm pretty sure. I think he said that when he's because that's what he wants to. He kind of wants her to see something. He wants to show her, a piece of his mind, what's going on and stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And I want to say hello to the Spider Master. I think this is your first time on this channel too, in one of my chats. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming by. So yeah, so like we get so the police are there and they're just they're being chewed out because you can't have a good 80s movie without police, without policemen getting chewed out by the lieutenant, by the boss. You see it in Beverly Hills Cop, you see it in Lethal Weapon, you see it in The Howling. Even though we don't care about these cops, but still,
Yeah, I mean it's classic cop tropes, so it works. It still works. So
it does. So we get so the news covers her. Of course, she's traumatized. Let's see if I can
Hmm.
get a frame of her. So her husband is walking her out of the. Yeah, this is a good
Yeah,
shot
there
right
you
here.
go. That's good for
So
him. Yeah, because she's like she don't remember. She don't actually know what happened in there. So yeah, she's very traumatized.
she's traumatized, and she basically has like very short term temporary amnesia. That's basically what happened. That's just what happens, and
Hmm.
she can't recall. She can't seem to remember. She ultimately gets nightmares, and she gets flashes every now and then, to the point where, well, like I said earlier, if she has to go, she might need to go on vacation. She might need to take some time off. I mean, I hope they paid her well for this. Like, I mean, can you
Yeah.
imagine?
Did she
Like,
still get paid?
yeah, like, well, for something like that, if you were asked to do something like this, you would have to be like, "Fuck you, I'm not doing this. I'm going to negotiate, or I'm going to say, you want me
She-
to do this? You got to pay me. You have to pay me double of what I usually
She's
get paid."
journalistic integrity, man. She just wanted the story.
She wanted the story, but she was also scared out of her fucking mind too.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. So, and
yeah.
of course, right here, that's good thing, good reason. So, her
Mhm.
memory lapse. She doesn't remember what she saw. I'm reading my notes right here. I wrote like 6 pages of notes for this.
She's
I
got
don't
to
know how
go
you could
to
write
like
6 pages of notes for a horror movie, but I did for this one.
it's a
So,
great well it's good to take notes because it's such a great movie. So like she goes to the Dr. Wagner, and he tells her what she needs to do. So
oh yeah,
yeah, see,
remember?
he was a football player.
Yeah, he was a football player. But remember how she was walking out, and all these people just start staring at her like
Hmm.
this, and she's looking, and then looking, and then looking. Yeah, like there
Yeah,
was
it's
like
like
a.
the thing, like you were saying, like with the novel, what happens to her in the novel. So like that feeling of like they know what just happened to her in that room, and so she
Mhm.
thinks everybody's staring at her. So that's another part of the mental, emotional damage thing that she just went through.
Yeah, so here she had a nightmare, and she woke up screaming. Of course, she embraces her husband. She starts crying, and she cries. And the reason why I found this cry so familiar is because she's cried in freaking ET. She's cried a lot in Cujo. So, like, I call it the D. Wallace cry, the D. Wallace emotional state. Like, no one can do emotion like her.
Yeah, I love Dee Wallace. She was so good, so good. Still is. I mean, she don't do much, but she still is.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, I don't even know what else she's done besides this movie, ET, and Cujo. Those are the
Critters.
only three
She's
I've
in
seen with
Critters.
her. Oh, Critters?
Yeah, she's the mom
I've
in
not seen those.
Critters.
Isn't Critters supposed to be like discount Gremlins, and then Ghoulies is
Yeah,
discount Critters?
it's speaking of which, Joe Dante, which he did to do an interview with the In Search of Darkness. That's what he says. Critters is his favorite Gremlins knockoff.
Oh yeah,
So
Dempsey. I remember Dempsey told me the other day. Actually, she was in the Rob Zombie
yeah, she's
Halloween.
in the Rob Zombie Halloween.
I have
Sadly,
I have not seen the Rob Zombie Halloween.
do yourself a favor. Don't.
Yeah, Dempsey might disagree with you, but yeah. But I'll tell you what not to watch. And I know you agree with Fanzine. Halloween Ends was terrible.
Oh, I will never watch that movie. That is a shit movie.
You had the greatest take. You know how lots of people make false equivalencies by comparing something bad to something that's beloved by all, and they did this with Star Wars. There, people are we were all complaining about how Myers was not barely in the movie, and like, oh, he was only in 9.5 minutes in
Yeah,
the Halloween
yeah.
original movie. Yeah, but he was present. You felt his presence,
Yeah,
like
because that's
Obi
the whole point.
Wan.
That's what Carpenter was going for. He's constantly looming over the whole movie because he could be there at any point, at any time. So that's what makes that movie so scary. The original Halloween so scary, and why it feels like Michael Myers, whether he had less screen time in the original or compared to the one in the new movie, he feels like he's there constantly because he's this evil being, this shape. And he leaves such an impact that characterization, story, and in the new movie ends, which not to derail your stream here,
No, don't
is
worry.
yeah. So what? He's got like a minute and a half extra screen time. Big deal. They don't use his character to effect. They diminish his character. They focus more on Corey, which people don't give a crap for Corey. The story was like two different movies and one that didn't make sense. And then, oh yeah, here's Michael at the end again, being Michael. I was like, yeah, it
You want to
doesn't
hear
matter.
another? You want to hear another theory of mine? You know why they named him Corey Cunningham?
Why is
What do you
that?
think they named him after? Think of another Cunningham that kind of stole ideas from or ripped off Halloween to make his own successful franchise.
Oh, Sean S.
Sean
Cunningham.
S. Cunningham. That's what
Sean
I'm
S.
thinking.
Cunningham. It
That's
could
why.
be. Could be.
That's what I'm thinking.
Could
And I
be.
want to say hello to Prophet of the Dragon, my streaming brother, did Better Call Saul, is currently doing House of the Dragon with me. What's up?
What's up?
Yeah, he's going to be
Hello.
doing. I'm just going to announce this now. Prophet is not a fan of horror, but I'm making him do my final serial horror chat. And we know what we're talking about. What we were just saying earlier, the original 1978 Halloween.
Oh, that's awesome! I love that movie. That's a great movie.
That movie, like just a few more things, but like just a simple trip to the to the laundry room outside, or a simple trip across the street of the house is some of the most terrifying stuff I've ever seen. Like just walking across the street, and all of a sudden Myers just springs up from behind the car, like you don't know where he is, and then you hear John Carpenter's music, his cues that make you feel that he's there, and he's a menacing threat. So.
Very, very much. It's very much like Jaws, and the music, and that's thus the music works as well.
Blackest of eyes.
The blackest eyes?
No, the devil's eyes.
Yeah, then Court got those eyes.
He stole that from Jaws. I'm telling you. Yeah. I did do a Jaws stream. I did a Jaws stream with Pips earlier, or Pips who was on the chat earlier. So
Jaws is awesome.
Yes, it is. All right, so let's get back to this. So Chris and Terry. So Chris and Terry. Next scene is basically Chris and Terry. Chris and Terry are these two right here that work with Karen at the Katie whatever the news, and they're doing their own little investigative journalism. So they're going to they're right now at the apartment of Eddie Quist. And of course, this fat guy is just this fat. I'm assuming he's a plumber or a carpenter. He just steers
maybe.
Chris down. Yeah, landlord maybe. So this is Chris's bedroom. So he has like nothing but what a typical serial killer would have in his room. He have news clippings on the wall, random sketches of people, werewolves, and collection of trinkets right here. And then we get our first jump scare of the movie. At least I think it's our first jump scare. The dog just kind of. I think I kind of missed it, but yeah, the dog just kind of pops out of the window at Terry right here, and then she's like, "Go away, go away!" She just smacks it in the face, and yeah.
Now see this, like you're talking about how it's like serial killer stuff. This movie was actually sold on a bit of false advertisement, much like Halloween Ends, but it was done in a way where it worked because, werewolf movies at this time were kind of passe, like the Universal Monsters and stuff. Nobody really was wanting to do that. They wanted to do slashers. So this movie was sold a little bit as a slasher movie with Eddie Quist, a serial killer, until people got into it and found out the supernatural werewolf aspect to it. But see, the thing is, delivered a good movie, whereas Halloween's Ends didn't.
But, this was not a slasher at all. Like
it's not it's a werewolf movie, but it was sold sort of as a slasher. And that's also like with the poster. Like when you see the poster, it's not a werewolf. It's got the claws and stuff like ripping, but it's her face, not a werewolf face in the thing. So I watched that with Joe Dante. He talked about this. So it was very much sold with the art of kind of misleading, but also giving you what you need, enough of what you need to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we get this. So here's another big MacGuffin. I don't know if, well, not quite a MacGuffin, but something that really supports what we're going to see later in the movie. This picture that she's holding here. She's holding a sketch, Eddie Quist's sketch of a coastline. And let's just say they kind of take it with them. They go back to Wagner right here. So they go and they have an appointment with Wagner, and they ask him what kind of. I think the joke is, can you tell us who this explain this Norman Rockwell? Because Norman Rockwell, like I have a Norman Rockwell painting right behind me right there. It's my dad's old umpire, the one umpire they're checking for rain and everything. They bring up Norman Rockwell here and they're asking him like, is this something typical of a serial killer? And he's like, well, yeah, I guess. I mean, they use the right hemisphere of the brain, which requires, creativity. Yeah, you have to give serial killers this. They're usually pretty creative in how they, do things, and they adapt pretty well to, to that type of thing.
It's because they skirt they skirt the line of genius and insanity, because as a lot of serial killers do. in real life. So it makes sense.
So yeah, we find out here that they want to do a special on Quist, and of course they want to record everything that Wagner's saying right here. And so we get that. And the next thing is, I think the next scene right here after this is, I think Karen goes back to work. She goes back to work at the station. So here, perfect thing. There's a
the guy from
body snatcher guy.
He's in the body snatcher. He's the original.
They're coming. And of course they kill. He dies. He dies in the 1978 movie.
Actually, he doesn't. He lives. He doesn't? He lives, and he's actually in the remake with Donald Sutherland. And
he dies in the remake. I mean, or the.
I can't remember. I haven't seen the remake in a while, but I know he's in the remake with Donald Sutherland, and it almost plays out.
They hit him with. They said they're driving, and he runs in front of the car. I think they hit him. Hit him. He's like, they're coming.
Yeah. The thing is, like, it almost plays it like he's the same character from the original.
I think he's supposed to be the same.
Yeah, character. Like because he's still screaming that they're coming because he lives at the end of the first one. He's telling everybody they're coming, so they almost play him like he's that same character, even though like Donald Sutherland character is using the same name, I believe, because it's the remake. So yeah,
and he gets hit by a car off screen. So and everybody's looking at him like with indifference. So you're like, okay, maybe all these people are now pod people. So
yeah,
it was pretty funny. So you think 22, because I think the original came out in 56 and the remake came out in 78. Mm-hmm. So for 22 years straight, he's been running around telling people they're coming. Don't go there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so right here, he decided he came back to life, and now he's running KD. He's running a news studio. And she's so Dee Wallace has come back. Dee Wallace is back. She feels like she's ready. They're putting makeup on her. They're making sure she's looking at her absolute best. And unfortunately, she just completely freezes.
Yep,
so they have to, of course, in the production booth, they're like, what is she doing? I think they defer it to the other anchor, and then if worse comes to worse, then they go to commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they end up taking her away. And I'll be honest, I love the cheesy 80s news. You remember the old news themes? It's like a freaking game show. It's like you're watching it's like a game show.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love that 80s aspect of that stuff. That's great.
And I just also love seeing how the sausage is made, and how production, it just gives you a little insight into how production has gone. And so you kind of wonder, maybe that might, I don't know, maybe it's something to go into, just be a part of the news production team right there. Just, take cues right away, and just get the stuff, get the work just like right off on a whim or something. At least that's how I interpret it. So they're taking her away, and I think there's one. I think he's showing a special on himself. He's like, that's how you do journalism.
Because they needed something to fill it in where she was messing up. Just cut to my video I put up. So,
yeah. So he's like, that's how you do journalism. Like, wow, this guy's an ass. But people in the news networks are asses. So
yeah, pretty much.
So here, Karen meets with Dr. Wagner, and he prescribes that she goes on vacation to his little place up in the north called the Colony. So he's there. So he's prescribing some rest, what did he say? So she goes through her inability to remember the trauma, her flashes, her nightmares. So he recommends a trip to the Colony, which will have seminars, they will have group therapy, and they will try to tackle the amnesia the best that they can. So
yes.
So that's pretty much there. And of course we get a nice little, shot of them driving up to, let me see if I can get, there we go. They're driving up to the Colony right now.
Yep.
And hey, we're at an evening cookout.
Yeah,
And
we
that
get to
guy that
meet
we
all the
just
cast of weirdos there.
yeah, we get they're it's a cookout. They're playing I think country music or
Hmm.
something like that. And of course, the guy that we just saw, this old man, that's John Carradine. If you don't know,
Yep.
John Carradine he's the father of David Carradine. If you don't know who David Carradine is, you have to see Kung Fu, you have to see Kill Bill, and the movie where he was the bad guy against Chuck Norris. I forgot the Lone
Oh
Wolf
yeah,
McQuade,
yeah.
and of course his best movie ever, Death Race 2000, where he's in a contest where science. It's a futuristic F-Zero
Frankenstein.
type of movie where he has to run over people, and if he wins the race, he becomes king of the world or
Yeah,
president of the world. So,
yeah.
yeah, 70s movie,
And I
greatest
love
movie
that
ever.
the colony is filled with a bunch of like old school actors and character actors from way back in the day.
Yes.
I love that. That is perfect. Such perfect casting.
So I think who was Charlie? So the cattle dude, Charlie Barton. Who was his actor? I did not
Oh,
pick up his actor.
I don't remember. I'm not good with names right off the bat, but I don't remember. But it's just like he's one of them guys where you're like, I've seen that guy before, but I don't know his name.
Charlie Barton. Yeah,
So
this guy. This is
yeah,
perfect.
that
Charlie.
guy.
That's Charlie.
I've seen him a
He's
million
got
times, and I
the
can't
text
think
and
of
he's
his
got
name. I know movies he's been in. He's old westerns and all kinds of things.
yeah. So
Yeah, I
you
think
have
he's in City Slickers.
okay. I still have not seen City
Oh
Slickers.
yeah,
Yeah, I know. There's then there's the what's his name? His name is Jerry. Jerry. He's cooking. He's cooking the pig. Jerry's cooking the pig.
Mhm.
Let me see. Okay, that's John Carradine. And this is Donna, who's kind of like who becomes Karen's friend throughout the movie.
Yeah, her little
Her
best
buddy.
friend.
You can tell she's crazy just by looking at this, just as the single frame. Look at those
She's
wide
got the
eyes,
crazy eyes.
those crazy eyes
Never
right
trust a
there.
woman with crazy eyes.
Nope. And yeah, so that we get so that's him, of course. That's him again. He's not happy. So why is John Carradine not happy? Well, see, John Carradine prefers the old ways, not the modern ways. So he wants things to go back to the way they were. And I mean, it's easy to understand being older and stuff. What does he mean? Don't know. These are
Yeah,
people,
don't know
right? These
yet.
these these people could not be anything else, right? Of course not.
Right, they're not weird at
They're not
all.
weird. There's just no wolves in this movie. They're just normal people. They're normal people enjoying a good bite. And then we meet this crazy person right here, and
By the way,
her
Charlie's name is Noble Willingham.
Noble winning
Willingham.
Willingham. Okay,
Yeah, the
okay.
actor playing.
I've never heard that name before.
He's a prolific character actor. That's what I said. I'm pretty sure he's in City Slickers and he's in multiple older movies and stuff. So yeah, go on.
So here we meet Marsha Quist, and she's the punch. Yeah, she's the punch lady. So what's his name? Bill goes up to her. See if I get a better frame of this. So Bill goes up to her and she's like, punch. He's like, well, what's in it? And she looks at him. She waits for a few seconds. She's like, it's good. I love how like this whole thing, this whole conversation. He was asking questions. She was giving him nothing but non-answers.
Yeah.
Did I write? What else did I write anything? Punctually. Okay, I didn't write down any particulars, but yeah, she's like, it's good. And she's like, oh, but he's like, oh, I gotta go. I have to go find my wife. And then she looks at him. She's like, why?
Yeah, she's a bit of a floozy, but everybody kind of knows what she does there.
And they're like, oh, that's Marsha. She's just an nymphomaniac. Don't worry about her.
Yeah, she's just a
I think that's what Donna
nymphomaniac.
says. She's just a nymphomaniac. Don't worry about her.
Don't worry about your husband over there with the nymphomaniac with the rack hanging out. Don't worry about that one bit.
Yeah. So, and of course, we meet this creepy. Let me get her. He's another Quist right there. This guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, when I was watching this on my Discord, I was like, this guy does look like a werewolf. Like he doesn't even have to wear the course here. He doesn't have to do the transformation. He just looks like a werewolf right there. So
yeah.
But this is like apparently they're related. So I think they're siblings of Eddie.
Yeah, there's his brother and sister, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get so that's why they're all crazy. Yeah. Look at him. Yeah. Look at that. Perfect actor for a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we get Wagner's here with Karen. Is that Donna? I don't know if
Donna,
that's
yeah.
Donna. Look at that
There you
face.
go. Look,
Like
at
look at that creepy face.
He's got already the elongated wolf face.
Yeah, he's got the yeah, and and the eyes are creepy too. The gray eyes, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez. And of course, she's pissed off. So apparently, Wagner's kind of in charge here, but she is pissed. Like she is pissed at him for like because he wrote a book called The Gift, and she's like, "Don't you give my brother this subversive book to read." Because she's part of she agrees with the old guy. Like they prefer to return to the old way. What is the old way? Well, obviously, conservatism. I guess I don't know. Well, how does what does a conservative werewolf want? And
to make werewolves great again. That's what they want to do.
Well, I mean, like right, like I'll say this, like I don't want us to get too political, but like Wagner's trying to be more progressive, more modern,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to change to fit the times. Like it literally says it in the movie, we have to change to fit the times. And they're like, no, screw you. They're like, no, screw you at the end.
No way.
We're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, we get but yeah, so here I'm trying to read. So I got that creepy dude right here. All right, so but yeah, this is pretty much the converse. This is pretty much the cookout, the music and everything. It's ridiculous. It's fun.
It's a good way to introduce yourself to all these new characters that are coming into the story and to see how weird they are and that something is a little off.
Mm-hmm. And of course, more John Carradine. We got quite a bit of John Carradine. And oh yeah, John Carradine actually tries to off himself. Mm-hmm. So he's like, I can't do this. This modernity is killing me. I can't do this. Let me throw myself into the fire. And of course there's what's his name trying to stop him, and Dr. Wagner stops him too, or convinces him to stop. He's like, we should be hunting, we should be doing this, we should be praying and everything because that's our nature and blah blah blah.
Right.
And Karen's like, what's going on here? And Donna's like, oh, don't worry, he's just trying to get attention. He's just an old guy.
It's like the third or fourth time he's tried to kill himself today.
Yeah, so
no big deal.
Don't worry, just be dismissive of it. So
don't worry about it.
I thought that was pretty. That was pretty funny. And of course, here, so here we're back in the cabin, and Karen wakes up to hearing howls outside. And we get a surreal foggy forest. And I'll be honest, the fog guy that worked on this movie must have gotten paid overtime because we see a lot of fog. This is like the foggiest. This is the foggiest. Let me see. I want a frame. Where's that frame?
Where's the fog?
John Carpenter, right
John
here.
Carpenter.
Perfect.
Yeah.
John Carpenter didn't even work on this film, and we're getting a lot of fog right here. I think there's more fog in this film than even the fog.
I think that's sort of I think it's a sort of a throwback to the Wolfman, because when he becomes the Wolfman and he goes through the woods, there's a lot of fog behind him and a silhouette on black trees. So it really, atmospheric.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. She-Wolf is our name for a. Yeah. You can't tame what's wild. It ain't natural. Yeah, just like in Planet of the Apes, where they're like, "What is Dr. Zero trying to prove? Man can be domesticated." Oh.
Yeah.
I did a Planet of the Apes retrospective. Check that out.
That's a good movie too.
It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, like right here, like there's so much fog. Like every night, there's like major fog like this. Like this right here is just a red flag. Anyone with a brain and who's watched enough horror movies would know. You don't want to stay here in these woods at night because you don't know what's going to pop out.
Call the guy. We're leaving tomorrow.
Yeah. And there were points where she wanted to leave, and they were like, "Oh, the Wagner's like, oh, no, it's not a good idea to leave now. It's not safe, especially after her husband got bit, which it didn't happen yet." So, so. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it hasn't happened yet. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So she wakes Bill, and then she's like, I'm hearing these weird howlings and everything. And he's like, well, it's probably just someone's dog. Like Karen, you were from LA. The wildest thing you've ever heard at night was Wolfman Jack. I laughed when I heard that because I actually know who that is.
Yeah.
if you've not seen the movie American Graffiti,
Great movie.
This jockey that Richard Dreyfuss goes and sees is Wolfman Jack.
Yep.
And I think he's well known.
Wolfman Jack.
Yeah, there you go. R.I.P. Wolfman Jack. So, but yeah, that was the wildest thing you ever heard. So,
his stuff just comes in, we play it, man. We don't know who he really is or where he's at.
Yeah. So I think she wakes up again. She puts on the fire, and then we find out we get some creepy camera stuff. So we know that someone's outside the house watching it, stalking her. And she gets up, she goes outside with a light, and she runs back in. And then we get this creepy shot where it zooms in. We see that he's been watching creepy, what's his name, TC or something? Or
I don't know. Just call him Creepy Carl.
Creepy Carl. Okay, we'll call him Creepy Carl.
I can't remember his name. It might be TC, I think.
Yeah.
TC Quest.
TC Quist or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, right here. So he's stalking her. And then of course we get we're here in the tennis court, so we're with Karen and Donna are playing tennis together, and look who's here! Good old Slim Pickens is here. How you all doing? You're famous, ain't you? You know that's Slim Pickens, the one that rides a rocket, the one that rides a nuclear warhead into Dr. Strangelove. Yeah. Or
How I Stopped Learning to Love the Bomb or whatever.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, How I've Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
Stop worrying. Yeah.
That's probably one of the longest titles of a movie ever made. And nowadays, I'm sure, I don't know how familiar you are with current anime, but current anime has names that long. Like,
really?
They're like freaking sentences now. They're not just phrases. They're like full sentences or even questions. Like
wow.
It's like, is creativity that down in the dumps right now that you have to have 20-word names for a show?
It's the English translation.
English. Oh yeah, that's true.
In Japanese, it's just like 4 symbols.
That's true. That's true too. Like you go from Cowboy Bebop to why am I in this dungeon with this crazy chick? You know, that's or one of those dumb MMO type of anime shows. But yeah, so here we meet the sheriff, who is Slim Pickens. And we find out his name is Sam Newfield. So that's we kind of introduced this character. And I mean, Slim Pickens, you know, he's obviously much older, but hey, he's still a lovable guy. Like you see him, like he can't be he's a good guy, right?
Yeah.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with any of these people in this town.
They're all human. They're friendly.
The police, the people that own the land, the people in the colony, they're all nice, normal, ordinary, everyday people.
Yep. And of course, so we meet. So here we're in the morgue. So Terry and Chris are in the morgue, and so apparently John Sayles went from being a screenwriter to being a mortician in this in this scene right here. So this is John Sayles. He's the one that I think rewrote the script for this one, because I think the original script written by the original author, and they didn't like it.
It might have been, because I know usually, like, a lot of times when they option novels back in the day to make movies, the novelists wanted to traditionally be involved or help write the screenplay, and then like they hire somebody else, usually come in and rewrite the whole thing, and they change a lot of stuff from the book. So by the time it's on the screen, it's not that close to the book, but keep some of it.
Based on what I read about the synopsis of the book, they pretty much covered the core stuff, like they
keep the core of it, but they changed things here and there.
Yeah, and they did the same thing with Jaws. Like they had the original guy, Peter Benchley, I think was his name. He was the original novelist. He wrote a draft, and then of course Spielberg hired other people to modify it, to change it, to make the characters more likable. Because in that original movie, and I talked about this with Pips last week, what's his name, Dreyfuss's character, Hooper, originally had an affair with Brody's wife, and so when they're in the boat with Quint, they fucking hate each other. Yeah, and so they don't have that whole camaraderie, that whole that monologue where he's talking about the USS Indianapolis was not in the book. So all that shit, all the stuff that made Jaws great was added. By Spielberg stuff. and of course, luckily not having the shark prop work was the other blessing that they had.
Yes.
So because
Agree. 100% agree.
So yeah, so here we get so John Sayles is here, and we get a funny little scene where he's just like doesn't take this shit seriously. We see like a liver or a heart or something, and he has his burger like right next to it. Like I want to see if I can get that.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can get
It was
that
funny.
get that shot. Where's that shot of the burger right next to the organ to the I can't get it. Oh well. But yeah, so they're like, oh, we want to. They're curious about the body, and we find out that the body is gone. So Eddie Quist's body is completely gone here.
Disappeared.
He clawed his way out. You see like you see like freaking claw marks on the door, and I can't even get the frame. Jeez. Oh, whatever. All we know is that Eddie's gone. So apparently those bullets in the beginning of the movie did not kill him. So there's something off about him because, you know, he got shot like in the head, I believe.
And
so
what happened to him? How could his body disappear?
Maybe it was stolen. Maybe it was stolen.
Maybe it was stolen.
Yep. Maybe it was. So now we're back outside at night. Karen and Donna they're just walking back and they're hearing noises. And we get more surreal fog. Let me see if I can get some more fog. Yeah, more fog.
Beautiful.
So, like the fog guy was working overtime here. Like I said,
did a great job.
Yes, creating that. You know, like this. There's something off about this place.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, her flashlight goes out because, you know, most horror movies, especially this era, you know, they're also, you know, you have to have some disaster
dead
elements.
All of a sudden?
Yeah, why doesn't the car work? Why did the batteries not work?
Yeah.
Where did my friend go? Why am I by myself? Why is there a guy? Why is there someone stalking me? You know, it's all these things that are, you know, that make us love horror. You know, and we laugh. Oh, falling down. Yeah, you have to trip once. Jamie Lee Curtis did it
for no reason.
No reason.
They'd be running and just fall for no reason.
Well, I think in Halloween she fell for a good reason because she could barely walk.
So that becomes a horror trope in horror slasher movies. Is eventually it gets to the point where these girls are running and they just fall for no reason.
Yeah,
and it's like it's become a thing. So
yeah, I think they find a dead animal. They find like a dead deer or a dead reindeer or something over here. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's Slim Pickens again. Slim Pickens is like, "Hey, what are
you two doing out here?
What are you two doing out here?" And yeah, they're just like, "Oh, we want to go back." And so it skips instead of going back, it skips to the next day. So it's like okay, we'll get a nice little time jump. The guys in the village take Bill out hunting right here, and of course. Like I said earlier, TC or Creepy Carl is like literally the bloodhound of this hunting group.
Yeah, so he's right,
he's like right here. He's pretending he's a dog. He's like Curly, like he's like Curly from the Stooges. Like, you know, he's the bloodhound. He's just going down sniffing, looking for. I think they're hunting rabbits or something.
Right.
I was like, now I know. Now I couldn't help but think of the movie Watership Down because of the rabbits and everything. If you haven't seen Watership Down, that's a messed up animated movie about rabbits trying to find new home.
Tell us about the rabbits, George.
Yeah. So here they meet up with Donna right here, and he's just like, these people are weird. He's like, these people. I don't like
these people.
Yeah, of course.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, here's Creepy Carl again, being the bloodhound, and we get this nice little shot. We get this nice little shot of, I think, a rotating shot of Dee Wallace, and she's trying to recount her things, her amnesia, her trauma during group therapy, and but ultimately she's like, I still don't remember. I like
it's still like traumatic in her eyes and stuff. Yeah.
And he gets a rabbit. He got a rabbit. First shot, the one shot he did, he killed it. And and of course, Creepy Carl goes up to him and he's like, my sister can cook it for you. You can't just leave it there like that. That's a sin, you know.
Yeah.
It's like go and get my
Look at
sister
my
to
hot
cook it for
sister.
you.
She wants
Yeah.
to talk to you.
It's so creepy. Just like you know, like passing off your sister and all that. You're like, shut up, just shut up. I don't even know if it's in this scene. Actually, it might be in a later scene. But here
I
we
love
get
this
the
bookstore
okay.
scene with Dick.
Here we get the
I
true
love
star
it.
of the movie. This is the true star of this movie, even though he's only in 3 scenes. Dick Miller. Dick Miller is the true star of this movie. So they visit this occult bookstore, and I wrote down in capital letters, Dick, or where is it? Right here, Dick Miller. Dick Miller. You know,
Dick Miller.
and I have maybe it's because I've watched enough Red Letter Media, but yeah, I just creepy fascination with Dick Miller. So every time I watch a Joe Dante movie, I have to find, I have to see where Dick Miller is in the movie. So
right. And this is a great scene. I love it especially when because he like owns like an occult bookstore, and you get these nuns walk in, and he just like stares at the nuns. It's like, why do they do that? He's like, I love this scene.
Yeah, wait, let me see. All right, so yeah,
yeah. It's just like
that looks kind of looks like a dude right here. Ooh,
it almost does. It almost does. But it corrects me. Like he's so offended that these nuns are in his occult store.
It's like, what do they? He's like, what the hell do they want?
Yeah, what do they want? Why do they do that? Why are they here?
And of course, I think they're looking for a book, and I think one of the books is called Warlocks, Werewolves, and Demons. They're asking him they're asking about people that do these type of things, or maybe body stealers. They're trying to figure out what
happened to Eddie
is, or what happened to Eddie. And so he's just like, he goes into a nice little monologue about werewolves or shapeshifters. They're like cockroaches if you don't kill them right. And silver bullets work, but they don't. That's all that Hollywood stuff about them turning during the shape-shifting during the full moon is all make-believe and everything. Okay. And they're like, do you believe this? He's like, hey, I make a pretty penny here. I have to pretend I believe it.
Yeah, he's like, how should I know? I don't know if it's real. I just make money off of it.
Yeah, he's like, you killed them wrong. They regenerate 3 days later. Good as new. Good as new. I love his acting. Now I know that I was reading a little bit about history. So he was in a lot of movies with Roger Corman, and Roger Corman was Joe Dante and many other directors, and he was a mentor to a lot of famous directors. And so I guess with and I think he's even in this movie, isn't he?
Yeah, Roger Corman Roger Corman does make a cameo in this movie. I love Roger Corman.
Do you remember?
I'm not sure where it's at, but I know he's in it. I honestly cannot remember, but I do know he does have a cameo in this movie.
I have a confession I need to make, Fanzine. I don't think I've ever seen a single Roger Corman film. I don't think I've ever heard of Roger Corman until I started watching Red Letter Media, believe it or not.
His heyday was in the 80s. He did a lot of sci-fi, horror, and like sword and sorcerer movies. Lots of boobs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's one of those like
a lot of B movies. He did a lot of
B. He did. Yeah, he specialized in the B movie, sci-fi, horror, sword and sandal B movies. That was his heyday. He turned out a bunch of them. That's like Charles Band. I talk about him a lot. He's Full Moon Features. He did the Puppet Master stuff. He's one of his. Charles Band was inspired by Roger Corman. They're very similar in what they do. But yeah, Roger Corman's heyday is the 80s with a lot of B movies and a lot of boobs. So
I know he's been doing stuff. I think ever since the 50s.
I got some. He did some like old 50s sci-fi movies and stuff.
Yeah.
So
okay, So like any particular Roger Corman movie I should watch first? That top of your mind?
Depends. There's so many of them. I just watched one called Strip to Kill, which was it was about lots of boobs. It was a horror movie. It was in the 80s. It was it's about a murder mystery. Strippers start dying, and a female cop goes undercover at the strip club to find the killer, and it's basically a strip scene after strip scene after strip scene with a little story in between. But there's like stuff like that. There's one with David Carradine that we just talked about on the Physical Media show. It's called The Warrior and the Sorceress. Yes, it's a cheesy, bad sword and sandal type movie. It's great fun. basically wall to wall boobs, and David Carradine plays a warrior, you know, with a sword, all that good stuff. Yeah, so like you really can't go wrong wherever you want to pick up with Roger Corman. Just find you one. And yeah, Little Shop of Horror. He did the original Little Shop of Horror with Jack Nicholson makes a cameo in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the old black and white one. Yep.
I've only seen my high school play of Little Shop of Horrors. I haven't even seen the '80s. I haven't even seen the '80s one. So
the '80s Rick Moranis one is the one that everybody knows. It's the better version. Roger Corman, though, he wrote and created the original Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Jack Nicholson is in that movie. He's not the star, but he's in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's where Dick Miller comes from, and well, not only does Dick Miller have all these weird books and stuff, but he actually has silver bullets too. Let me see if I can find it
on the table there. Oh, right there. It's right in front of me.
Yep. Right here.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. And he's like, I like how they. So this is not the last we see of Dick Miller. We see more of him later.
Mm-hmm.
So here we're back at the okay. So this is the scene we were just talking about. So he's like, "Hey, take my thing to take that rabbit to my sister. She'll cook it for you. She's the best cook here.
She's got the best set of titties.
She's got the best set of titties. Yeah, you're gonna cook that, right?" He's like, "I don't know. I'm a vegetarian." He's like, "It's a sin if you don't eat it, son."
Yeah, it's a sin. You got to cook. Eat what you kill. It's a sin. It's bad luck.
I mean, I know. I think it goes all the way back. Native Americans, nomads. They whenever they hunted and they killed, they used every aspect.
Yeah.
They ate it.
And
buffalo, they'd eat it. They'd use it for resources, basically.
Like where the heart thing comes to, because like the person that killed it got to eat the heart of the thing they killed. So yeah.
And then years later in fantasy, Daenerys ate the heart.
That's sort of where that comes from.
Yeah.
yeah. You have to eat the heart.
Mm-hmm. So of course, what else do I see? You kill somebody, you got to cook, and of course, I think we get. Here we get this great scene right here. So there she is. She's just like I'll cook it for you later. And then she tries to, she grabs him. Does she bite him? So
I think she scratches him.
Okay, because I was curious if because she tries to kiss him. I wasn't sure if she bit him too, because he violently pushes her away. Yeah.
And well, the thing is, like with werewolf lore, there's a couple ways depending on how you do it. It's like if somebody is a werewolf, if they bite you, you can and you survive, you become a werewolf. But also a scratch from a werewolf can turn you into a werewolf. Just like a scratch can make you a werewolf. So
Dempsey says she bit his lip. Okay, that's what I was curious. Okay, so that's what confused me, because the very next scene, so he leaves her, he's walking back, and then he gets. Let me see if I can get a good shot of it. So he's alone and in the creepy. The fog guy was working overtime again. Another day, another night, and a werewolf comes out and attacks him. And get a good shot of that.
So that's how he becomes a werewolf from that.
Yeah, so he gets bitten. So here he gets a real bite. So I was just like, was this necessary? And by the way, was that her?
I think it might have been her brother.
Oh,
it could have been her, but I can't remember personally. I don't think it ever really explains what werewolf this was. So it's either her, for going in. She goes and bites him because he shunned her. He wouldn't make out with her.
That's funny now, because like this once again, this supports him trying to match make. Not, like, you know what?
Yeah.
It wouldn't work because she's a werewolf and he's a human. So what does a good brother do? He bites the dude to make him a werewolf, so they can play. He could be the matchmaker and everything.
Yeah.
So,
he just wants his sister to be happy, man.
You want. So I have another question for you. Werewolves, are they immortal like vampires, or are they not?
It depends on the story. Like you talked about the underworld movies. In the underworld movies, the werewolves are immortal, but in a lot of cases, the werewolves aren't always immortal. Sometimes they're just normal human beings, and they only become the werewolf in the thing, and so they don't have eternal life like vampires. So it really just depends on the what legend people go by and what story they want to tell. Because like the Wolfman himself was not immortal. He wasn't. Even though they kept bringing him back alive in every movie, very much like Michael Myers or Chucky or Jason or Freddy. He typically dies in the original like Universal movies. He typically dies in every movie, but they keep bringing him back alive. So yeah, it just depends on the story that the person's telling. For the most part, they're not really immortal, but they also can be immortal.
Okay.
So,
and since they use the Wolfman quite a bit as reference, and of course they show it on the screen several times, I'll have to say no, that they're not immortal, and it's not just silver that kills them, but old age. Like John Carradine's character.
Yeah, I mean,
is an old man.
Guys have aged. Yeah, you can tell they have aged. So he wasn't an old man werewolf his whole life. So yeah, he's aged throughout the life. So I would say these werewolves probably aren't immortal, but I would say that they probably have unnaturally longer lives. You know what I'm saying? They are a bit supernatural, so they're not going to have a normal human lifespan. They probably would live a bit longer, 100 years or so longer than a normal human.
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get the werewolf attacks and bites him, and of course then we get what we get next. Oh yeah, so here we have he comes back, and I'm sure she takes him to Wagner. Wagner injects him with something. Obviously, it doesn't help because he becomes a werewolf anyways.
Yeah, it was just to dull the pain.
just to dull the pain, and so we get some more pictures of the book that Terry bought. And of course, here this is the Wolfman right here.
Wolfman. That's the great
this
scene.
This actually looks pretty cool. Actually,
it is cool. And you know what is so cool is I don't mean to cut you off there. You want to say something?
No.
So what's cool here is like this guy here who's playing the father of the Wolfman. He's actually the father of the Wolfman in the movie. He is also the Invisible Man from the Universals. Yes, that's Claude Rains. He plays the Invisible Man as well. And I love this. Yes, I love the way he delivers this line. Even a man who's pure in heart and says his prayers by night shall become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright. Freaking love that. It's great. And he delivers that line so perfectly in the movie.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yes.
The Wolfman is, once again, like I said, Wolfman is going to be added to my list.
Yeah, I love the Wolfman. I mean, most people prefer Dracula or Frankenstein, which those are great movies. They're my top two from that. But like the Wolfman is my all-time favorite Universal monster.
Yeah.
Of
course, who's watching it? Well,
the young
Terry and Chris Terry and Chris are watching the movie, and they're in bed, and of course they get a phone call. They get a phone call from Karen. So let me see. She gets a phone call from Karen, and she tells them about what happened to Bill being bitten by a wolf, and this is what leads to Terry going up to the colony alone. So Chris does not go with her because he still has some work to do. So Terry goes up all by herself, and of course she meets up with Karen, and of course they talk about Bill, and she thinks, Bill's having an affair with that woman Marcia. And of course, they have a picnic. Let me see. They have a picnic. Oh, perfect. Here, this is what I want. They're having a picnic here, and a non-meat eater, Bill, is enjoying the meats. He's enjoying the meats. Looks like meat's back on his menu, boys.
Yep, meat's back on. And this is where not that the movie hasn't been scary or anything, but this is where the movie really starts to get really scary. Really starts to get darker, because once it gets to this point in the movie.
Yeah,
specifically what's coming for Terry in her situation, because that gets brutal.
Yeah, because we're about halfway through the movie, and there really hasn't been much. It's all been build up, and like there hasn't been really any deaths yet.
It's just like real slow burn of like, what's going on? Why is everything so creepy? Are werewolves real? Could Eddie Quist be a werewolf? What is going on? So we're getting this like nice little slow burn into creepiness and brutality coming very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we get, and then to keep going. So apparently she wants to, she wants to do the S to the E to the X and everything. And he's just like, I'm not in the mood. It's these drugs the doctor gave me.
Besides, you don't look like that werewolf chick I met earlier.
Yeah, you don't. You're not. Yeah, you're just famous, and I'm just
I mean, I've had you
I'm not in the
before.
mood. Yeah. So so she's disappointed, and yeah. So yeah, and yeah. He like you said, like I said, he blames the shots, and of course we get more. We get more. It's like how Sean Astin says more lembas bread. Well, more fog and more menacing howling sounds.
Yeah.
And I think she's having a dream. This is a pretty trippy sequence right
Yeah,
here.
she's like dreaming and starts coming back to some of the stuff she saw.
Yeah, and she wakes
Yeah.
up. She wakes up, and then of course Bill's not in bed. He's outside.
You better be careful here because she
I know.
drops trowel, goes full frontal. So
Yeah. So this is where it gets pretty crazy here. So they're doing their thing. They're growling. They're making noise, and Wagner's he's looking outside. He's like,
what's
he's
going
not quite
on?
what he seems either. He knows something's going on. He knows about this right here.
Yes.
All right, and look at the
Good thing
transformation right here.
It's beautiful work, man.
Yeah, and this is what I use for my thumbnail. I was like, what frame should I use for my thumbnail? Like, I thought this was pretty. I thought this was pretty pretty scary looking. It looked better than like the later transformations were okay, but like I didn't like the bulging lava looking bubbly.
I was going to talk to you about that because like with that in the American Werewolf, because it's been often debated about which transformation is the best between Eddie Quist's transformation or the American Werewolf. And the thing with that is like Rick Baker, who did American Werewolf in London, the transformation and everything, he was actually the guy to do the werewolf in this. He was hired by Joe Dante.
And then he left. London.
He left because he actually made a deal with Landis, so he kind of had to go. And then Rick Boutine, most famous for The Thing, who did all the special, he came in and he did the werewolf effects, who is an understudy of Rick Baker for this movie.
Yeah, and I think he was still like, I mean, I think this was his real first, like the only thing he did before this, I believe, was Piranha. Rick Boutine.
Yeah, it was like he works with Joe Dante forever, and like he's a disciple of Rick Baker, so he's got the skills.
Gremlins, Rick Boutine?
He might have.
Rob Boutine. Sorry.
Rob Boutine. He might have. I have to look into that one. It's been a while, but he might have. He's part of Joe Dante's clique. So,
because I'll be honest, for the longest time, even as a kid growing up, I used to think Gizmo was real. Like Gizmo was a real Mogwai and everything, and I'm watching it from a more objective point of view. I'm just like, how did they create that effect of making Gizmo seem real? They did a great job in both movies, like especially part 2.
Yes, but very much.
But we're not talking about Gremlins. We're talking Joe Dante. We're talking about Rob Boutine. But yeah, I like it. I do. But I like these. I like this initial phase of the transformation where you start seeing the teeth. You start seeing the slid eyes. You start seeing the coarse hair on the shoulders, and it just looks unnatural. And then of course you get this nice little scratch right here. You get this, they're scratching each other while doing all this kinky stuff.
Did some crazy doggy style stuff.
And of course, this is Marsha right here. She's enjoying this. This is very pleasurable. And then we got a little animated segment where right here, I was like, this is like the animated silhouette, which I brought up earlier. I was like, like they took some very interesting, they took some very interesting things. Cause like later on, so they use animation, but later on when they're fleeing the wolves, they use stop motion.
Yeah. Stop motion. Yeah.
So it's just like they were trying to, it's like they're really trying to fill in, like they're really trying to patch all this up. At least that's how I see it. Maybe you see it differently.
It was basically, like you mentioned, Joe Dante was a fan of cartoons and animation and stuff. So they was trying everything in the book with the werewolves here, with what they wanted to do, and plus the budget. It was a low budget movie, so they had to like skirt around things, and they were waiting for the big transformation effect and all that. So that's kind of where all the most of the money went to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, we get, I think before this, we find out like while they were doing their thing, while they're having their fun, they were howling really loud to the point where Terry here was recording the sound with her recording device right here. And so now it's the next day, and I think right after this, don't they get into a fight or something? Let me see.
Yeah, her husband D. Wallace and her, they get into a fight. Yeah, and that's
like he literally smacks. She accuses him of cheating, and he's trying to gaslight her, and she's like, "You're not going to gaslight me." And then she keeps doing it. He gets to a point where he just backhands her.
Yeah,
and
she's like, "I want to leave. I'm gone." Yeah,
and then it got to a point where she's like, "Yeah, I'm gone. I'm done with this. I'm done with you." And she tries to go to the doctor, but that's later down the line. First, we have here's this big reveal right here. Perfect time. So here we have she's able to match the sketch with where she is, just like something out of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Like she found the location of where this view is from. So she's like, okay, so if this is where the serial killer's from, then I got to keep looking. And so look at this right here. This looks this also, even though there's no fog here, this still looks very surreal too.
Yeah, still like early morning, sort of still foggy, early morning, like maybe 6 a.m.
Kind of makes me think of Endor. Maybe there's some Ewoks lurking.
Maybe
lurking somewhere. But she's investigating. She's by herself. And in a horror movie, that's never a good idea. You don't want to be by yourself in a strange environment or in the vicinity of strange people and expect to get out alive.
Yeah. And I tell you, she gets some of the worst end of the deal in this movie. Let's be honest with what's coming her way soon.
Yeah, that dude should have went with her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so she finds a cabin. She goes in. A bunch of weird stuff, food, kitchen, pantry. She goes into the bedroom, and what does she find? Clippings and equivalent artwork and weird stuff. And well, I know we all know where she is. This is Eddie's place out. Mm-hmm. This is Eddie's place here in the colony.
Yes, because he's from the colony.
Yeah, and Eddie is somebody's out. Some creepy werewolf guy is trying to bust into the door, so she has to flee. She finds an axe. She hides here. And then maybe I could see if I can. So here we get a nice little shock moment.
Werewolf
claw right behind her, and she takes the axe and cuts off the arm. Let me see if I can get a. Oh,
there you go.
There we go. Perfect.
Yep.
Clean cut too. And it's wiggling, it's bubbling, it's wiggling, it's transforming back. So I guess a severed limb gets
once it's detached, it turns back to the human.
Now the question is, they say that they regenerate. So do they grow the arm back, or do they simply take the arm and try to simply?
I would say much like Deadpool. I would say it just grows back.
Oh, it just grows back. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
So she cuts off the arm and then she runs. So we're like, oh, she's safe, she's good, nothing's gonna happen to her, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Nothing. I mean, she got away that time, right?
Right. So she is in a. So I think she finds herself in a clinic. So she runs to this clinic. She tries to call Chris. And so here she is.
I love that picture. That picture was Lon Chaney Jr., the Wolfman.
Yeah, that was. That's true.
Yeah.
And so we got a really quick clip, and I missed this the first time I watched this, but you see a clawed hand turn on the audio recorder.
Yep.
When she's getting on the phone right here. So she calls. So she calls Chris, and let me see, next page. So it cuts to Kieran. So this is where it cuts. So she's calling Chris, and then this is where it cuts to Karen waking up from a nightmare, and we get shirtless Bill right here, because why not?
Why not?
And she's like, "Why do you have scratches on your back? Why do you have scratches on your back? They weren't there before." Because he tries to lie and say, "Oh, they were there the moment I got attacked." She's like, "No, they weren't." And then that's where
the whole fight comes into it. She's ready to leave.
Yeah, that's where the fight comes, and he smacks her. She's down. He feels bad about it. And she's like, "Go away. We're done for now." And yeah, what are those scratches and everything?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably something he just, it was the 80s, he's backhanding women, and Sean Connery himself said, once in a while you gotta sometimes you gotta smack it, And and you ever see that interview with Barbara Walters he did? He's saying all
Yeah,
this,
I've
and she's
seen
like,
parts of it.
she's just
Yeah,
like,
she's like, oh,
she's like,
I'm
why would
Sean
you do
Connery.
that? He's, well, because it's normal. It's Sean Connery, I'm a man. Sean Connery is a man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this Chris is getting a call from Terry, and she's telling him everything that she found, that Eddie's there, and while that's going on, he's watching cartoons. So we get more cartoons right here. This is the lamb. The lamb is scared of the wolf, and the wolf's like,
That's
like
what you call foreshadowing to what's about to happen to her.
Yep. The lovely little lamb being, and of course, this is the wolf. The wolf actually takes the werewolf takes the phone, puts it down, and she says like, and then she's like, she's trying to. She should just the moment she flashed a light at the werewolf. I didn't know werewolves were allergic to light like vampires were, but she should have just left the room. But she didn't. She ended up crawling into a corner, and then the werewolf got her.
Yeah.
Basically.
And I think it was more like their eye sensitivity, like dog eyes. It's not so much it's not like the vampire stuff. It's just like when the light flashes in their eyes, so because they have such great eyesight, the light shines in it that like throws them a minute to get their balance back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and of course, this whole thing is happening while Chris is on the other line, so he knows shit's going down, and because of that, he's able to. He knows exactly what he needs to do to get to come there. So he knows they need silver bullets, and he knows what he knows exactly. He knows exactly what he needs to do. Of course, we get this light right here. Another shot of the wolf, werewolf.
Great werewolf design. I gotta admit, this is a really, really great werewolf design, because as much as I love American Werewolf in London, and I think it's a better movie and has the better transformation scene,
but I prefer just turn into a wolf. He kind of just turned into a wolf in American Werewolf.
Yeah, that's what I say. I prefer my werewolf to be bipedal, walk on two legs, like Wolfman-esque. I don't really like when they turn into basically like a giant dog. I don't like that. But that is like the American Werewolf in London is just such a great movie, so that doesn't matter. But I do love the werewolf designs in this movie.
Yeah, I mean the only thing the werewolf designs in this movie are great, but I think the transformation in London is it's
way better.
It's iconic,
it's way better. But this is a really good one too. Just a little too much heavy use on the bladder. That's what the bladder effect. That's what it's called. They fill these bladder balloons under the skin, and they just pump them.
How did they create the bladder effect? Like, did they put like hot air, like a little tube or a hose?
It's like these little like bladders
like that,
and they put it under the skin, under like a makeup skin or whatever they're using, or the face if it's not his real face or not. And it's like they basically they're like pumping air into them, and it makes it blah, 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 pump out like that. So basically that's what they're doing. Yeah.
Okay. But this is just
this scene here,
the stuff of nightmares.
This is where it gets really dark, because he murders this woman. This werewolf murders this woman, and this is a character you've grown to love. You've kind of like, you're rooting for her, you like her, and this is her demise. So
and I forgot to say, there's this, they cut into here where here's Slim Pickens, good old, such a nice guy, Slim Pickens. Chris calls the sheriff. He's like, oh, don't worry, she'll be. It's like, oh, don't you worry your hair. She'll be fine. She'll be fine.
She'll be fine.
And then she's just like, and she's in freaking. Let's go on. She's in trouble. Wants some more.
Yeah, he's basically
he's killing her. Yeah, he's killing her right there. He's holding her up, kind of like Michael Myers, with an arm, and then she just gets bitten, right?
No, I think he's pretty sure he snaps her neck.
Oh, he snaps her neck.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure, because I was just
like, if he would have just bit her, he might. I can't remember. I think he just like snaps her neck there, like she chokes her out, snaps her neck.
And they did
Yeah.
they did the same feed effect like in Halloween,
Yeah.
where like once the character's dead, the feet just go
They just
still
go
and then they
limp.
droop down.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go limp and everything, just like in
Yeah, and see, this is where it gets really scary and stuff because, like I said, you've grown accustomed to this woman, this character. You've seen her journey. This is where like these '80s movies are so much better than like modern movies, is because they focus on this story, this characterization. You get to know these people, so when it comes time to lose one of these people, you actually care for that this person is being taken away from you because you've really grown to like this woman and she goes out brutal, and that's when it's like, okay,
yeah.
stuff just hit the fan. This is getting scary. This is getting serious. How are they going to defeat these monsters?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you said monsters with an S, plural.
Yes.
So I have
I'm
to ask
getting
you,
ahead of myself.
I have to ask you, did you care? Did you care when did you totally care when Mike Myers killed Linda with the telephone wire? And she's like, oh. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what is it, Annie? Is it your famous
Yeah.
squealing now too?
I,
Huh?
I do care because like even though like that's become a thing now, is like a trope. It wasn't a trope then, but like a trope now is like, oh, these girls or these guys, teenagers, just going to be murdered, just fodder for the monster. Well, but in that you kind of get to know these three girls. You know, you see their friendship. You see, you know, you got Totally, you got her. She's like the hippy dippy spacer good kid,
Who
and
needs a
you got,
chemistry book and a math book? Who
yeah,
needs
you got
books
her,
anyways?
and then
Yeah.
you got Annie, who's like this like in middle of the road sort of a girl. She's like the cool, sort of the cool chick, and then you got Lori the nerd, and so yeah, you get to know these characters, and it kind of sucks when they get killed,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
it makes you feel
you
something,
yeah,
even
because
even if you like you didn't maybe like the girl,
yeah.
you know, because like, oh yeah, but it's somebody you could like, oh, I didn't want to see her die, but you
Yeah.
know it was coming.
Yeah, so you have to make them somewhat likable and somewhat supportive of the main character,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think that's really all. It's not even that hard to do, and that's just something that's impossible with today's standards. It's like it's hard to get invested in characters because characters are written to be unlikable now.
Yeah, there's no character to them. It's just all messaging. So
Yeah, I mean the reason why Steven Spielberg's movies, especially in the '80s, why he was the king was because and the reason why Jaws was such a success was because the characters, those three characters in that movie, especially in the final 45 minutes, were so likable. And when we see Quint die, oh
yeah, it takes it because like you grow like when you first see Quint and he's scraping like
yeah,
that. I'll do it. He's like,
boss.
what? Who's this guy? And then the more you get to know, like,
He's eating while he's
yeah,
talking. He's eating a
yeah.
cracker. It's
And
like
then
I
you're
don't give
like,
a
I
shit
don't
what
really
you all
like
think.
this guy. What's oh shit? The shark ate him? No way.
Yeah.
It's like it elicits this emotion from you because
Yes.
you've. That's what's so great about these movies because it's not always the monster and stuff because it has become now it's like like in these movies it's the monster, so there's no characterization to the victims, or if it's newer it's just messaging, but you get to you along with the characterization of the people in the movie, you can learn to care about them, you know them, you see this monster, something's looming out there, it's coming their way, you're hoping they don't die, but you know something bad's coming, and it all works together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So so we lose Terry. So
Yeah, in a very brutal fashion.
yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So because the one thing I was going to ask is like if the werewolf bit her in the neck, like why isn't she a werewolf then? But I guess
Yeah.
they didn't want her to be a werewolf because she wasn't one of the.
He was making a
team.
statement because like Dempsey said the werewolves have a lot of control over themselves, so I transformed. It was kind of weird. Well, that's because like these werewolves have been around a while. It's like Dick Miller mentioned, you know, the stop believing what you hear in the movies. It's not all the same. When you first become a werewolf, yeah, you transform by moonlight. That's the first, like as a young werewolf, that's what you do. Then over time you can gain control of it, and you can do it at will and have control over what's going on. And so it was very calculated and very manipulative because he knew if he bit her or something, she would become a werewolf. So he just straight up murdered her.
Yeah.
He's sending a message to the guy that was on the phone and to the woman, Dee Wallace's character. So that's what he was doing.
Yeah. Dempsey here says the Predator is just a super tech Michael Myers. Well, you know what? If it wasn't for Michael Myers, we wouldn't have had the Terminator. Like the Terminator was basically Michael Myers. Michael Myers, the way he gets up, you know, the way he just does that, you know, that insane ab, you know, workout right there, just gets up like that. I mean, that's I compare that to how Data, like if you ever watch Next Generation, that's how Data activates. He gets up like that, and like to me, Michael Myers is a robot. He's practically a robot. He's killing machine. He's not like Dr. Loomis says he's not a man, but without
His
derailing it
essence
to
of evil.
essence of evil. Like there you go, or indifference. But
Even
here
now it's a virus that you can pass on to people who just little Corys.
or yeah, or the official explanation is he spotted the evil within Corey. I'm like, if there was evil within Corey, it was not set up well.
No, it wasn't. Not one bit. Not one bit. But onto this.
Yeah, but here we get the greatest actor in this movie again. We get Dick Miller. So Dick Miller. Right away, I skipped it, but Chris comes back because he wants the silver bullets, and he just throws money at Dick Miller. He's like, wait a minute! I need a jeweler. I don't know how to charge for these things. Like, well, bill me.
Yeah,
and he's just like, and then he literally says, then Dick Miller says the best line in the whole movie. Crazy fuck.
Yeah. I love Dick Miller. He's Dick hilarious Miller, in this.
And what's funny is this is not. I thought this was the final scene because no, there's one. He's in one more scene in this movie, but we'll get to it. Very end. He's in one more scene. So he heads up. Chris heads up to the colony. So here, here Dee Wallace is back in the clinic. She's looking for Dr. Wagner. And she spots Terry right here. Says, "Oh, Terry, yeah,
like where the claws dug into her."
Yeah, and she got the red bloodshot eyes right here. Just like, whoa, shit. And so she sees the body, but then we find out who the perpetrator of her death is, and he's right here on the gurney, covered up. It's freaking Eddie. Let me see. There, Eddie. Yes. Look at that. Look at that creepy. Look at that. Jesus. So that's just like this. Like that's Robert Picardo. He's obviously wearing a hairpiece, but it's just like, oh my gosh.
I just love because he's been shot and he's still got the bullet hole from where the police killed him, and it's like it fully hasn't healed yet. And like I love how he sort of keeps those injuries still.
I honestly, when I first saw this movie, I forgot. I'm like, who the fuck is this? When I saw some VHS, I completely forgot about the beginning of the movie because we didn't really get a good look at him. I'm like, who the fuck is this? And all of a sudden we get this creepy guy and he's talking to her. I'm like, what is this? But he's just like, I was like, what does he say? I want to give you a piece of my mind or something. Or
I want to get a piece of my mind. That's what he in the beginning, and he still wants to show her, what he is. What he wants to show her. So that's the whole point.
Yeah,
and that's what the transformation comes in.
Yeah, get that transfer. And he also rips the bull out. So they shot him in the head.
Yeah, they shot him in the head. So he rips that out. He
just rips that bullet out. Oof. And here we get the transformation. Let's see if I can get a good bulging. So you get the barrel chest transformation. Let me see. All right, there we go. We got some of that right the cheeks and the forehead.
Yep. It's just all bladders. It is a little bladder heavy. With too much maybe, but I do like this transformation. It's just not as good as the American Werewolf in London. But the thing is, this movie is, even though they're both sort of supposed to be dark comedies, this movie is much more darker. It gets much more serious. So transformation works in this sense because he's this like evil, like sort of evil psychotic serial killer type person, and after what he just did, and he's been meaning to show this, he wants to show her this, he wants the story, he wants to frighten her, and so it works. This transformation works in that regard.
And Dempsey says here his death was so terrible. Oh, we'll get to that.
I
laughed. I forgot about that. I laughed when I saw how he dies. It's like, wow, these werewolves are stupid.
Well, like, it's technically he's done.
If I was a werewolf, would you have the hubris to assume that that every gun's going to have lead bullets instead of silver?
Yeah, but it's like the thing is, like with Eddie, he's done. He's tired of killing, so he's ready to go out. So that's what that's all about.
Yeah, I was considering using this one, for my thumbnail, but this doesn't look scary. This just looks ridiculous. He's like, like that, you know. This looks like a single tooth right here. Just the way it's shot right here. This looks like a single conjoined tooth. Huh. And yeah, Dempsey also says it took it because we were like I said, we were watching it. It was a very I think this took like a couple minutes.
Yeah, like it takes a while. It's just blah 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 blah.
And this is where the muzzle comes in. He's like,
yeah,
like that. See if I can get that. Okay.
The ears.
Ears. Of course, here. Oh, look at that! Look at that! Look at that beautiful sight right there.
Yeah, that's a good set.
Okay, I don't want. Yeah. All right, that was me doing my Galadriel. Sorry, I think that's way scarier than this. Seeing that segment on her on the horse is scarier than this movie. But yeah, this was a very long scene. Okay, let's see. Very loud. Jeez. I think this is where I think she throws the acid in his face. Oh,
yeah,
that's nightmarish right there. Wow, this takes forever. Holy crap! I forgot how long this took. Yeah, so I think she threw it right here. Yeah, she threw it. Let's see if I can get a. Yeah. Okay, right here.
Yeah, she throws acid on his face.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And like I said, I still like that because the next time you see him, he's got half his skeleton. His skull is hanging out, so I love that he keeps the injuries, and it's not like oh, she threw him that in his face, so the next time you see him he's going to be all healed up like they said because they regenerate. No, it's nice to know that they give him some time. Like he still had the bullet in his head, he still has half his face gone. He didn't heal immediately.
Oh, I love the makeup that they give him after when Chris encounters him, but we'll get to that. So here Chris is at the gas station. He's like, take it. He's like, come on, I have to hurry. I need the gas. He's like, take it easy, pal. Not all of us can afford the Mazdas, you know. Some of us have to work for a living, you know. Like, hey, look at that. See if I can get a good look at that car. Look at that car. Look at that. I guess working for the news production room, you know.
Some city people.
Yeah, making all that money. Look at that car. Look at those headlights right there. Jeez.
Futuristic.
Yeah. So here, okay. So I thought that was funny. But so she tries. So Dee Wallace tries to flee. So she tries to flee. She tries to get in the car, but unfortunately, Mr. Cattle Beef dude right here, and what was this guy's name? Doug again? I forget his name.
No,
I'll call him Doug. Doug. Or Donna's or the husband of the one that was cooking the pig. Or whatever,
her husband, Donna's husband, yeah.
But they catch her and they're like, "You got to come with us." And they're both holding rifles and they escort her to what looks like to be the main pavilion. So this is where the Werewolf Council meets and everything.
It's the Wolf Lodge.
It's the Wolf Lodge, and of course, we find out that Dr. Wagner, her closest advocate in the situation, and of course, I think this is Terry. I think that's Terry. There's Marsha right there. Look at that Marsha.
Still hot.
Yes.
You don't do crazy evil chicks, but she's still hot.
Yeah. And she's freaking out. She tries to appeal to Dr. Wagner, and Dr. Wagner's like, I can't. I just can't. I call it the Mrs. Voorhees response. Remember how Allison Friday the 13th tries to embrace her and she's like, I can't, she's like pushing her off,
Yeah.
Same idea. Well, not quite the same idea, but that's just what I I saw it.
But I get where you're going with it. Yeah.
And of course, they're trying to convince her to join them. They're come on, join us. Join us and you will feel power. You will experience the fullness of the gift side of the werewolf. Okay, I wasn't gonna say
the dark side of the wolf.
The dark side of the wolf. And of course, Donna's the one that's trying to convince her. And it gets right here. See, she's whispering in her ear, whispering the poison. Yeah. Come on, join us. You'll feel better. You'll feel better.
It's only a joint. It ain't gonna lead nowhere. just a little marijuana.
Just a little. Yep, there's Dr. Wagner again, and they're like, okay, we're done with you.
Yeah, we're
We're
tired
done
of your
with your
psychobabble modernity crap.
yeah, you want progress, huh? You want progress? Check your freaking progress. I
Yeah,
think they actually hit him or something.
I think they kill him, don't they?
No, actually, they don't kill him.
Oh.
He actually Chris kills him. He
Oh yeah, that's
actually.
right. When he shows up with the yeah.
So I'm trying to. Where is okay? But they do attack him. Like
Yeah,
they
they do
scratch his
attack.
face,
That's
right?
what I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah, because they're like, "We're done with you, mother."
Yeah. So like this exam room, like it's like so funny how like they have 3 scenes in a row in in the same exact exam room. First Terry, then Karen, now Chris. So now Chris
Yeah,
is in the exam room, and he's going in. He's got the rifle. He's got everything, and he finds blood on the recorder, and the recorder's on. Then all of a sudden, he gets accosted from behind, and I think this was a poor, maybe I couldn't notice how there were a few editing issues I saw. There were a few issues I saw with continuity. Well, not even continuity, but like how things just like, how did he get the gun? Like, how did Robert Picardo get the gun? Let me see. So right here, right here. So like all of a sudden
because
you see a
he
hand
walks, he
come out of the
sets the gun
glass.
down when he walks in.
Yeah. He just, the hand goes in, and all of a sudden he has the gun. And the same issue with when Bill's in the car with them and he bites Karen. Now Chris is driving, but somehow I was trying to get a good look at the frame to see how he shot him, but it was just, you just hear the gunshot go off and he's dead. Like you didn't even see the gun pointed at him. So I think that was another issue that I think they just didn't fix it. They couldn't fix in time.
Well,
So
it's one of those things. Is like less is more. Like he's done. You see the makeup on his face. He's done killing. He's done with everything. He doesn't want to be a part of the pack. He's done killing. He's done. He's like, here, take it. And it kind of like the effect of like, back away. You hear the gunshot. You assume he's dead. Plus, if they would actually did a sequel, they could have maybe brought him back. I mean, they did do sequels, but you know what I mean. Like if they were going to do like a real sequel, and yes, Howling 2, your sister is a werewolf. It's good. I'm glad you like it because most people do not like the Howling sequel, but it's a fun watch.
I hear like they have nothing to do. Like the rest of the sequels have nothing to do with any of these movies.
Nothing. The second one loosely connects to the first one, but after that, it's no, they're not connected at all.
But the Vic Rattlehead. I don't know if this is your first time here, but welcome. Thanks for coming by. So Eddie attacks. So Eddie comes in and attacks, and he snags Chris's rifle, and he keeps calling him Bright Boy. What's going on, Bright Boy?
Yeah, Bright Boy.
You want to see something? You want me to show you something, Bright Boy? And he gives him back. So here's the thing. So what's messed up is they're listening while he's calling him Bright Boy. They're listening to Terry's death on the recorder. It's so messed up. He's like, I love it. I love recording my victims' screams and their last moments and everything. And this is just like, wow. It's just like, it's so messed up.
It's creepy.
He's like, you know what, Bright Boy? Here, I'm going to show you something great, Bright Boy. And then he's like, here, come on, shoot me. And it's like, okay, I couldn't help but laugh at this part because like, oh, silver bullets him. So he was ending like he could have, he could have lived. Eddie could have lived. He could have went on to kill more people, you know.
But it's like I said, Eddie, I think he knew, and he was done. He was done. He didn't want to be part of the pack anymore. He seems like he was an outsider to begin with, you know, the way he was off killing people. And, you know, I think maybe he knew there were silver bullets in that. And he was just like, this is his last bit. I think that's one of the reasons why he recorded the woman's death. And to get that guy there was he knew he was going to end it. So it was like his end, finishing it the way he wants.
Okay. I was curious about that. That's very interesting. I didn't think of that. Okay. Yeah, because he's never in the scene with the rest of them for starters.
Yeah, he's not with them at all. And he's like seems like an outsider, and he's been in the city killing people. And I think he was like, even though they're like monsters and they want to be a pack and go back to the old ways and kill people, you could tell there was something not mentally right about him compared to them, even though they're not mentally right themselves. So,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like a serial killer compared to them being wolves that are just wanting to be animalistic nature, like back to nature wolf type people.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so Kurt, so right here, so like Eddie gives him back the gun. He starts to transform, and while he's transforming, let's see if I can.
And plus, like you see here, he's
Ugh.
been trying to show. He wanted to show Dee Wallace, who's a news reporter. He wanted to show her that he was a werewolf. This guy works for the news people. He wants to show him that. He wants people to know about the werewolf things.
Yeah.
And in the end, he's done.
Yeah, you got a good point. So I could believe what you're saying. You know, that's actually, I did not consider that. That's actually a really good point. You've seen this movie multiple times, so
yeah, I've seen this movie tons of times.
So he decides, I'm going to have one last hurrah. I'm going to turn into a werewolf. And he shoots him dead.
Yep.
Right. I kind of missed that one.
I just love that makeup. Even though the bladders get a little crazy there, it's a really great makeup job on him. Rick Bottini, you can tell where he was headed. And like he used everything he could. I mean, he ended up in the hospital doing the thing.
Then I did hear like the work was just crazy. Like the amount of work that he needed to do for the thing was just ridiculous. And they were on such a crunch. Here we go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep, got him.
And he dies about the same time she dies about on the thing. So it's like comes full circle.
Yep. And now he like, even though this just happened, he's right there. He's right there where Karen's being held. And he's step back, give Karen back. And of course, he's the first one to transform creepy Quist brother guy.
Creepy Carl.
Carl. Yeah. So it was his arm. So it was his arm that Terry cut off in the cabin. So yeah, of course we get this iconic shot right here, and he turns in, and of course because they don't know that he has bullets, silver bullets. Well, he gets shot dead.
Yeah,
he gets shot dead, and they're like, I love this shot right here. Wait, let me see if I can get it. Wait.
Yeah, they all just look up at him like what the?
Like in unison? Whoa, right there.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
Like, oh, we're fucked.
That's a classic Joe Dante comedy.
Did they do that in Gremlins?
I think they might have a scene in Gremlins sort of like that a little bit, maybe. Yeah,
I'll have to look for it. And of course, this guy, the husband's like, silver bullets my ass, and then you start to see the fangs come out of him. And of course, he gets shot dead too because Chris is just a badass with those silver bullets.
Mm-hmm.
And I think here Wagner is just like, you know what? With everything that's happened, the scratches on my face, this is where I think he's done with this. He's like this.
Yeah,
he's like my experiment or my attempt to do this to create something has completely failed.
Yeah,
and so
it didn't work.
So I think they're like, he's like, please, doctor, step back. Don't come any closer. And he keeps advancing on Chris to the point where Chris has to shoot him. And then he's like, then Wagner's like, thank God, and he drops dead. So to me, that was just him wanting to die. He moved closer to die.
Yeah,
he didn't do it because he wanted to attack him.
Where like Eddie was done with what he was going through, Wagner was like, this has got to end. It's not going to work. You can't tame the beast, so to speak.
So here's my question for you. So after this, they get the rest of them transform into wolves, and they're driven back into the barn where they get locked in. And of course, then they get they're pouring gasoline or kerosene or whatever, and then they burn the cabin. So my question for you is this: can werewolves get killed with fire?
Yes, fire is one of the things that can kill werewolves.
Okay, because I always based on what I've learned from this movie is because I thought it was only silver that can truly kill.
Silver is like, yes, silver bullets can kill them, but fire can kill them too.
Okay,
like if you can destroy the body completely, they can't regenerate. So if you can burn up the body, they can't regenerate. They could die.
And so right here, I think some of them are trying to scratch their ways. They're trying to scratch their way out or claw their way out of the place. I forget if if some of them did get out of here.
We know one of them at least, but we'll get to that eventually here in a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, they're howling, and so they end up getting to the car, and of course they get attacked from outside by one of the werewolves. Yep, right there. Let me see if I can get a. He shoots. I think he shoots and kills the werewolf here, and they get away. And then something heartbreaking happens here. They're driving far enough until they get to a roadblock, and I'm like, "Oh no, not him too, not Slim Pickens, not our lovable Slim Pickens here."
Yeah, they had to have their police. They had to make sure they had all their bases covered for the nice little colony, so that nobody would invade it.
Yeah. So Slim Pickens does quite a bit of damage to their car. Oh, that poor Mazda! And they had to talk. They had to talk about how expensive that Mazda was earlier in the movie.
Yep.
Like, some of us have to work for a living, Yeah. So like this car is getting completely destroyed, but luckily, Chris, even though he's a news reporter and production guy for a news thing, he's a really good shot, even better than the sheriff, because he takes out the sheriff. And what happens? The sheriff does enough damage to the point where the car explodes. Luckily they got out of the car and it's gone. So now they need another car, so they have to use the police car. But they have, and like a typical horror movie trope, there's something wrong with the police car. Like they can't start it right away. And so what happens? Well, they're being accosted by 3 or 4 werewolves, I believe.
Mm-hmm. I think it's 3 of them, or 4 possibly. Yeah.
And it's taken him a while to get through. They're clawing their way towards them. I think then they finally, he tries to shoot them. What ultimately happens is I think they manage to get away, but one of the wolves manages to stick to the car, and it bites Dee Wallace right here. It bites Karen, I think, in the shoulder or something. And we find out that wolf that bit her in the shoulder is actually her husband. Yeah. So we only see the tattoo. Yeah. So that's the end of her husband, and she was bitten, and she's like, we have to tell the world about this. Yeah. So we're like, okay, how are they going to do that? If you went up to someone and said, hey, werewolves exist, you know what they tell you to do? They tell you to fuck off. They're like, quit wasting my time. So what's the best way they can do it? Well, they both work for a news company, right? They work for a news broadcaster. Yep. We have to televise it. We have to televise the transformation. So, and they're like right here, she's getting ready for her one last hurrah, her one final anchor, her one final report. And he's like, and this is okay. So originally when I saw this, I barely remembered, but I thought he just didn't know about it and then shot her at the end. But in this part, he actually asked her, do you want to go through with this meaning she knows she's going to die? Yeah. They have it all planned out. Yeah.
And so this part is a little silly, but it works.
Yeah. So it's sad too when you really think
it's very sad because like you said, once again, you grow accustomed to Dee Wallace and her character and all the traumatic events she just survived, and then it's going to go out like it's going to go out.
Yeah. So here we get to meet Mr. Body Snatcher again in the booth, and of course there's the same production guys. There's Dee Wallace getting his thing for her final report. She's wearing everything. They're getting the teleprompter ready. And he's like, if something happens, we're going to go straight to commercial regardless. He's like, don't worry. We made some changes, but we got this. He's like, yeah. Chris is like, we got this. Don't worry. Yeah. And she's talking, and I like how he's looking. I like how he's looking at her. He's like, what is going on here? Yeah. And they're like, oh, we're going to cut this. And Chris is like, no, don't. I don't know what he could have done. Maybe he had a gun. I don't know if he. I think he pulls out the gun on him or something. Okay. And she's reading. She's talking about werewolves, And yeah, he's like, I'm ruined. He's the guy, the boss is
Yeah,
like, I'm
it's so
ruined.
rude. What is going on?
And then this is what we'll get.
I
The
love the
golden
eyes, man.
eyes, the
The
golden
eyes are
eyes.
great.
It's like they really wanted to do something different with her
Yeah,
transformation. Like she didn't even look like, I'll be honest, she did not look like a werewolf. She looked more
that's
like a dog.
yeah, that's actually her ideal because she wanted to be a cute werewolf.
Yeah.
So that's actually her ideal for why she looks so different than the rest of them.
I'm gonna make you believe.
Yeah, I love those eyes though, man. The eyes look perfect.
Yes, they look beautiful yet scary at the same time. Like that shine that just comes out. It really sticks to you. But I like what they show next, which I thought was great. I love when they show montages of people, like things happening on TV, and montages of different people watching and reacting to it. I think he's like, oh shit.
He's like, what is going on? Holy shit balls.
Yeah, he's like, holy shit, I'm out. He's like, I'm out of here. Yeah, it's yeah, we get that. And we're okay. We get so we start with this couple right here. They're like, what's going on here? And he's looking at the TV guide.
He's a werewolf.
But my favorite one is this one right here. Okay, that's not the one. This one.
Yeah.
What did I write down? It's like, what are you kids like? The mom's like, what are you kids watching? And the little boy's like, wow, she's a werewolf. It's like, oh, the news lady's turning into a werewolf.
Yeah.
And then the next one's even better because we get the greatest actor in this movie here. Wait, no, that's too far. And no. All right, Dick Miller. And he's just like, oh boy.
Because he knows it's real, even though he doesn't want to believe it, but he knows it's real.
It's like, oh, I was right. He's like, oh, I was right the whole time.
I was right.
And then we get the liquor store guy right here. He's just speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
It's just funny. It's just he's just speaking Espanol, and it's just like, oh, well, I don't want to be insensitive, but yeah.
Yeah,
it's funny. Like he's speaking in Spanish. Say the reporter's turning into a werewolf, and then everybody's just reacting. This is the werewolf. So this is Dee Wallace. Yeah. This is what she looks like. So it's not quite ugly. It's not quite grotesque. It's kind of like a pup, like
a dog, like a little dog.
Yeah, and then of course he's just like, okay. And he looks down. He's like, I have to deliver the coup de grace. Okay. He delivers the coup de grace. They shoot. He's like, switch a commercial.
And it's a dog food
this is
commercial.
So great, right? They're like, switch a commercial. And then he's about to shoot. And then they go to the dog.
Yeah, it's a dog food commercial. Classic Dante.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, you see the cute dog come out and eat the food. And then we're in a bar. So we're now in a bar. They're watching the TV. So their whole thing is happening. And I like how the guy right here. So these two guys are arguing right here. He's like, yeah, that was special effects, right? No, I think it was real. I think she turned into a real werewolf. And the guy's like, this guy's like, he tells him, he's like, you're plastered, aren't you? He's like, that don't make it not real.
Yeah, that don't make it not real. I could tell you.
And of course, we get this guy right here at the very end of the table. And he's like, hey, buddy, I want that peppered steak. Oh, sorry. A little too far. He's like, hey, buddy, I want that peppered steak, and I want a hamburger for the lady. And of course, we find out that the lady is Marcia, so she survived. She survived.
Ordeal. Yes, she. I would say the other ones probably died, and she survived. So.
And they're like, lady, how would you? They're asking her, how would you like that? How would you like this cooked? And she looks at the camera, breaks the fourth wall, and says, "Rare." And then they even goes further. The credits show them making the burger right there.
It's great.
And that's the end of the Howling. So this was a great movie. This was a funny movie. And by the way, I want to say hello to Godzillion. I miss you, Godzillion. He says this movie gives me serious. This movie gives me serious. They live vibes. Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that?
A little bit. Have you seen They Live?
Yeah, I remember, like, because the aliens and the consume everything, and they're
Yeah,
trying to warn the world. So yeah, so the same
it's
idea for this
like the
ending.
same
They're
idea with
warning
the
the world of
werewolves.
werewolves.
Yeah,
So they're warning the world of the aliens, taking the form of
yeah.
humans. The guys are humans.
I could see a little bit of They Live vibes to it. Yeah,
That's a great movie. But
it is a
what's
great
funny is I
movie.
didn't see it until recently. I saw it maybe
Well,
like
it's a great
last
movie,
year. So
and it still works well today, even though it was made on a commentary of a different political party. It works pretty much with the other political party today.
yeah, that's what happens when you touch upon two extremes on both sides.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, the 80s was all about, the religious right were the ones that wanted to, censor music. They wanted to, well, you also had Tipper Gore. She wasn't part of the religious right. She just wanted to, put together, put stuff, parental advisory on, music and stuff. But but it was both sides that were complicit in wanting to, wanting to do that type of shit. So, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. So, but yeah,
Mhm.
that's the end of so the credits, we're just seeing it. We're seeing the burger. We keep seeing the burger cooked until it's like all done, I believe, right here. So
Just like right on into the end till it
yeah,
fades away.
yeah. And what's funny is I didn't realize it, but there's actually a little bit of an epilogue right here. They show, I think, a moment in the Wolfman,
Yep, the Wolfman.
and they're like, "I'm going now, and heaven help you."
Mm-hmm.
And then it tunes out. And then it tunes out to the R-rated symbol, and that's it. So yeah, so that's the end of the Howling. That was it was a fun movie to rewatch.
It's a fun movie. It's a great movie, yeah. And I love that, like, with the part two, the whole thing, like with part two, how it connects is like, which defeats the whole purpose of the first movie. What Joe Dante and them was going to with the broadcast is apparently that news broadcast she does was the least watched broadcast on all of TV that night, so nobody really saw it or believed it in the first place. Which it's considering they say it's like the number one news program in the movie there and all that. Yeah, it's like that's how it connects, sort of. So yeah,
because you would think if they made a sequel, they'd include Marsha and they'd include all the, like, I heard John Carradine's Werewolf survives apparently and is in the second movie, but he's played by a different actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it's just weird. It's like a lot of those movies from the 80s, like especially with the early 80s there, because this was like in the earlier 80s and later 80s, is like some of the sequels of the movies that were hits but not maybe like real big hits, they kind of spawned off for different direction, so they really didn't connect to the first movie, but they were like, just continuing on with like using the name to sell a werewolf movie.
True. So Dempsey here gives it a 6 out of 10. He says, very dated, great special effects, but they linger too long. Great casting and decent acting, good screams, good kills, and body discoveries. Yeah, 6 out of 10 sounds about right. I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
That's to me. I would give it an 8 out of 10 because that's me. That's why I speak, because I do, like you talked about my channel, I live in that form of entertainment. So these movies to me, like, people can see the datedness and all that. To me, that doesn't bother me. So like, I would give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, 8 out of 10.
But I totally get where people come from. So because I'm on a different spectrum of entertainment type thing than most people. So
and then we have Godzilla who says, Herb Braha, porno cashier, best credit
ever.
I mean, I keep saying, I'm still going to stand by Dick Miller. I stand with Dick Miller. Dick Miller is
awesome.
Yeah. And he was in DS9. He was in Deep Space Nine, and yeah. So I mean, I don't know if he was in the other Star Trek, but yeah, he was in the
I don't think he was in the other one.
two-parter.
Mm.
So, but yeah, there's great movie, and this was because I was thinking, like, I wanted to cover something I haven't watched in a while, and I felt Howling would have been a perfect fit. So I was trying to think, should I do Howling or should I do American Werewolf in London? Thing is, I've seen American Werewolf in London more than once, so
yeah,
I figured revisiting the Howling was the better idea. I really had a good time doing the stream with you. I'd love to have you on again.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
and I don't have physical. I don't have a physical copy of the Howling, but
I do. It's over
sharing
there, but
after sharing like Runner was showing me like some of the stuff that he has. I'm kind of jealous. I need to buy some more. Like I have to catch up on my Halloween stuff. I have to get
you don't even know how much that cracks me up, considering that how Runner's showing you his collection. It's because like when we took Runner, me and Tom, when we took him in and started teaching him the ways of physical media, the man didn't know nothing. He didn't know nothing about movies. He hasn't seen this movie. He hasn't seen that movie. And now he's telling people what movies to see. He showed people his collection. It's like,
you're like,
I
we
love
created
it.
you. We created a physical media monster.
It's just, it cracks me up. Runner. It's just, yeah, he's a great kid. I do. It just, I laugh about it because it's like, you could go back and watch some of the first episodes of the physical media show, and Runner's like, never seen it, don't own it, I don't know nothing about that. Now he's giving people lists of movies they need to see. That collection he has, like, look at this brand new 4K I got. It's just like he's come so far. I love it.
Yeah, I was, I think 2 days ago, I was on his channel. We were talking about Halloween Ends. We were just like, he's like, I recently saw 2018 and Kills. I was like, really? You've just only seen them like just to do this? I was like, oh, okay, all right. But at least you saw him. At least you saw him eventually. So I was surprised.
Yes, and so yeah, he's been watching some of stuff, and he's only like told us that he's seen Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, 2018, and Kills. So he's come a long way, and that's within the past. I don't know how long we've been doing the show, but that's within the past of the show. It's the first watches all around. So that's why I love what we've cultivated in him.
Yeah, I love. I mean, when you guys do talk about physical media, you guys really know the grit, the grit and everything that goes into it. And you guys are really fun. You guys are really pleasure to listen to. Like I feel like I know quite a bit about physical media. Now you guys blow me the fuck away.
Yeah,
it's like Yoda says in Attack of the Clones. He's like, "Much to learn, you still have." That's what I think every time. But yeah, so. But yeah, Dempsey here saying that was cool. I enjoyed the movie a lot, actually. It's just not as good as Nightmare 1, Halloween 78, Pumpkinhead, Child's Play 1, Friday the 13th.
No, I give you that. No, that's why the sequels to that, like those movies got actual sequels in theaters. That's why the sequel movies to the Howlings ended up just going straight to, because yes, it was a hit. It made money. It got Dante the job for Gremlins. That is the movie that got him the job for Gremlins.
Yes.
However, it wasn't like one of those huge successful franchises where the movies kept going theatrical. It was just sequeled out onto straight to VHS.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you know what? Tomorrow is going to be. I'm going to actually be doing the thing tomorrow with two guests. I'm going to be doing with Snow Dub, and I'm going to be doing with Salty Texas Sea. So those two, I'm going to be having. So I'm going to be having two for the price of one tomorrow, because the thing is going to be something that it's a monumental thing for two people to talk about. But you know, it's fine. I did not see the thing until I was in college.
Really?
In the late, in the mid 2000s. So I just was, once Wikipedia came out, I started looking at everything John Carpenter worked on. I never knew that he worked on the thing. I had heard of the thing because we've all seen Halloween. Mm-hmm. And we know that Halloween features, A Forbidden Planet, which that's another movie I didn't see till recently. And I never realized how closely connected that was to Star Trek. But then the Forbidden Planet, but also the thing. The thing mm-hmm. is Carpenter himself remade it.
Yeah,
it's a better version.
Yeah, he said, I like both versions, and yes, his version is the better version. I actually own both versions. Me too. Yeah. Me too. It was his favorite movie. That was considered his favorite movie. That's why he remade it, and he remade it right. He did it enough where it was similar, and plus he based it more on the novel than the original.
Who Goes There, I believe is what it's
called. Yeah, Who's Goes There? I think that's what it's called. Who's Goes There? Yeah. So his is more based on the novel than the original movie was. And plus, yeah, that's how you do a remake. You can honor, because it's the same font, the same thing font when it opens up as the original. It's the Arctic, the circle with the people standing around. That's very similar to that. So he's like, it's got enough in there for people who have seen the original thing to be like, oh, I get where you're going. And then he changes it the right amount to where it's a new story. and it's just a better movie. It's just great. But
Yeah,
both movies are great.
yeah, the issue now is they try to remake things that were done perfectly in the 70s,
Yeah,
80s, even before,
that's the thing.
and they think they can do better. I'm just like, why bother at this
Yeah.
point? You're not gonna do better like Force Awakens and the original Star Wars. You're not gonna do better.
And that's one thing that makes me so mad about modern stuff, and like even like with David Gordon Green and all these other people, and like the Screams, yeah, is like they legitimately feel like their movie and what they came up with is better than Wes Craven, John Carpenter. And it's like, no, and I get it. I know you gotta eventually you're going to need people that are the new Wes Craven, that are the new John Carpenter. But the way they're going about it, it just makes you feel like they're pretentious and narcissistic and entitled.
It's corporate. It's corporate driven. So you got millions of producers. There's not a singular vision. The best works came from people with singular visions. Gene Roddenberry, George Lucas, John Carpenter, Wes Craven, Steven Spielberg. I can go on forever.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just like that annoys me to no end that these people really think, and then they try to pay homage to these people in their movies that they're remaking. Like, see how much we respect them, and meanwhile we're destroying their legacy.
Something Nosferatu. So we actually sometimes I get the actual immortal himself, Nosferatu, to come on and join the chat. So
Klaus Kinski.
Yeah, Klaus Kinski, big Klaus Kinski guy. So we have but yeah, so that's pretty much that's pretty much it. So with 2.5 hours out there, we talked quite a bit. So this was a great stream. Thanks for really doing this.
I appreciate no worries, man. I appreciate it inviting me on here. Appreciate it.
Same here. I appreciate you coming on and doing this with me. This was a lot of fun. And
you're gonna have fun tomorrow night with like Snow Dub and stuff, because that's his favorite movie.
It is. That's the reason why I invited him. This is the reason why I invited him, is because I heard it was his favorite movie. Like, okay, I'm gonna have to invite him. Yeah, I had him on a couple weeks ago. We were talking about the Dahmer series that Netflix came out with that everybody had a problem with because they put it under the alphabet genre, and they're like, he doesn't represent us. I'm like, well, whether you like it or not, he was gay. So
yeah.
You can't. I mean, still, but it was a messed up show. Like, there were points where I was scared, like legitimately scared. I think the part that upset me the most, because I'm in Chicago, was showing the Gacy stuff. I hope they don't do a Gacy series like that, because what Gacy did was worse. I mean, he didn't eat his victims, but he made them suffer. He made young teenage boys suffer. Yeah, and that was their last thing that they ever experienced in life, and it's just it's fucked up to me. So. Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, guys, look who speaking of the devil.
Hey, what's up, Runner? Fuck your Best Buy.
Yeah, we were talking about you. We were talking about you. Why don't you repeat what you said earlier to Runner?
Yeah, it cracks me up, Runner, that you're showing Nerdporio here your 4K and physical media collection, talking about movies to own, when me and Tom taught you everything you know. Like, for the past year, you didn't know nothing till you knew us.
Yeah, we love you, Runner. We were mentioning you. We were talking about you quite a bit earlier. So all of it good, of course, except for fuck your Best Buy.
Yeah, well, fuck your Best Buy.
But yeah, so like I said, this was a great stream. And so, Fanzcene, you have anything you want to plug? Is there any projects you're working on? Anything coming up that you want to shout out?
Just go check out my channel. I got some cool videos up there. I'll be dropping more soon. I did a really great video called Halloween Memories. Go check that out if nobody's seen that. That's really good.
That's what I was talking about earlier. That was a great video. That was
very VHS style. Made it feel 80s.
Yeah.
I tried to make it feel like an 80s, 90s Halloween TV special. It's with the VHS rolling on the sides, all that. Check that out. That was one of my great videos I liked. Check out In Search of Darkness, 80s horror. Since we're talking it, click my link on my channel that I have, and buy you a copy. You can get 1, 2, and 3. 3 is the final. This is your last chance to buy part 3. So if you want a physical media copy, DVD, Blu-ray, this is your last chance. They will not sell it ever again once it's gone. So you do that.
I was lucky to see. I think I saw part 1 on Shudder. That's how I watched it. So
yes, I missed out on all that, but like I said, I'd love to be part of something like that in the future. So
Yeah. Just keep doing what you're doing, and if you get noticed, people will contact you.
Okay.
They will contact you. So, but yeah, go check that out and check out my videos, my channel, whatever. If you want to sub, if you don't, that's cool. I'm not going to force anything on anybody. So you just check it out, and if you enjoy, that's awesome. If you don't, that's cool. So.
And Runner Blaze says this to you. He's like, "You're a good teacher."
I know.
But Dempsey, Runner, Godzillionaire, Nosferatu, and everybody else who came by earlier, Prophet, Pips, Vic Rattlehead, Spider Guy, or I forget his name. I have to go. I don't want to go all the way back up the chat, but yeah, thank you guys for showing up. This was a great stream. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And I believe I left Fanzine's link to his channel in the comment, not the comments, in the description. If I didn't, then I will put it in. I take responsibility then. But definitely subscribe to Fanzine. Great channel. He's been doing stuff. How long have you been a content creator for
years?
Years.
My channel's actually been up since like 2016. So,
okay.
But I really didn't start doing like my own stuff for the past 3 years. So I've had a channel since 2016, but like for the past 3-4 years is when I've actually started making videos and of me and everything, talking about what I want to talk about. So
yeah. Okay. And so subscribe to him. And if you haven't, subscribe to me, hit that red subscribe button.
Subscribe to the Nerdporial. I always get to like, which way?
And and if you like streams, if you like more content, and if you want to support me, I may or may not be monetized. There's a join button, join the Nerdporial Continuum. Yes, it's a ripoff of the Q Continuum because I'm a Star Trek fan, but you join, it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. I mean, especially with all the inflation that's going on right now. So yeah,
inflation.
I see, hear nothing, but other than that, to hit the join button or just hit the like button too, and that's pretty much it. So
and subscribe to him.
Yeah, same with Fancy. So everybody. This is where we're going to cap it off. Everybody have a good night. Stay Nerdporial. May the wings of Nerdporials carry you to the next. Well, I always say carry you to happiness, but I'll say carry you to the next serial horror chat tomorrow. So, but other than that, everybody, take care. Have a good night. And if you haven't seen the opening, I'm going to show it right now. Peace.
We are approaching that time of year again. A time of great exhilaration, a time of great pleasure, a time of great fear. The darker sides of all crave that latter delight from themselves, but even more so from others. To satiate that hunger, our dark selves take note, interest, and entertainment in tales of the macabre that appeal to our deepest fears as only mortals face. The only way to achieve this is to begin the dark ritual where Nerdporial and a special guest will discuss a particular tale during this season to ward off pure evil, as well as to entertain and to educate. I humbly welcome you to the Serial Horror Chat.